let me blast off and then we'll get into it. Obviously, let's just get right into it. We'll do a SF rally recap and all of the coverage. I expect to also be. I'll probably get a lot of coverage today on Fox News. Let's be real, because I said something that JFK has also said, which is that when you disenfranchise people, you make it inevitable for them to fight back, and you lead them into taking not so peaceful means and not so peaceful measures in the aftermath of the Tennessee redistricting and also the Virginia Supreme Court decision that overturned the democratic wishes of the state. In any case, we'll talk about all of that and more. Republicans mad at my JFK warning, SF rally recap, and more. Get in now. www.twitch.tv/Hasanabi. Do we have a blast off meme? The constant F-bombs from the crowd were crazy. I was like, okay, same, but chill. New independent poll from the Shoykop race commissioned by SF Chronicle. Yeah. Spamming this because I know you'll love it. Please use it for your breakout meme. Maybe. Druku, thank you for the blast off. Nice. Peacefully dropping bombs on people. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's blast off and let's get it twisted. Yes, we got the UK elections as well. I'll be talking about the analysis on that as well. What Kami says. Thank you, what Kami says, for the 25 bones. If you got Plattner on show today, Uncle Sam would have had a meltdown. Wait, why? Why would Uncle Sam have a meltdown? I love Uncle Sam. Plattner skipped out. Who's making you put on suits at 11:30 a.m.? You. You are. You're making me put on the suits. Anyway, are you okay after the Bowman chest bump? That's funny. I think you guys don't understand how brolic Jamal Bowman is. Okay, he is unbelievably jacked. But I hardly watched Dennis with Potten today. It was really interesting to learn about you and Ethan Klein. I'm still fairly new, so I wasn't aware of your past. You should definitely watch the video Kilo uploaded. Yeah, it's like 4 hours. I'm gonna be honest. It's like I want to, but we'll see. This was one piece of the speech.
All of these wonderful candidates that are putting the working class first in their message, in their platforms, in their policies, because they're terrified. They're terrified of the fight. They don't want to have that fight. And I'm not just talking about the Republicans either. We know that the Republican Party is a reactionary scourge in this country. We know they're fascists. We know they're racist. We know they're warmongers. But we say no more to the Democratic collaborators too.
Black suits with black ties are for funerals and weddings. This is not a black tie. It's a green tie. It just looks black because it's dark in here. This is the most Sarah Longwell tweet that I've ever laid my eyes upon. I want to scream. Just got out of a group of Trump 24 male voters who disapprove of the job they're doing. We asked them to raise their hands on who they think they might support in a presidential run. Whole group interested in Rubio. 1.5 hands for Vance. 4 for Fetterman. John Fetterman. That's awesome. Doing a diamond heist after the stream? Yeah, sure. The green tie is fresh as fuck. Thank you. Anyway. There's not really much else to talk about as far as, personal news in general. In particular, I'm a chud ass loser. I ain't got nothing else going on in my goddamn life, as you know. Piker is nothing but a grifter looking to make more million, nothing more. Shoykop will lose and quietly leave San Francisco because he will never be forgiven by everyone else here that's pissed at him for bringing a raging anti-Semite like Piker to the city. Bookmark this post. You will see. I like that's for the most part, people have just decided, no, I don't want to engage this person at all. I'm just going to keep crying about how he's a rabid anti-Semite, right? It's great. Yeah, we got some bad news. Well, not bad news, but like Wiener had like a tremendous, tremendous run thus far, regardless of, regardless of how bad he is. There's a couple different reasons for it. I'll get into it. San Francisco is unbelievably lived up. I mean, this is Nancy Pelosi town, obviously. It's so funny that people call you a grifter, because if you were, you just sit your ass at home like a roach law. Yeah, I mean, the people that say I'm a fucking grifter, I don't know what they think I could do that would make me not a grifter. Like, I just don't think that there's anything. There's not really anything I could do that would lead them to believe that I'm not a grifter. Do you see what I mean? Like I'm I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going out. I'm promoting candidates that I think are good, that I think will help people. I'm doing fundraisers. I'm doing everything. Like, I don't know. I don't know what else I need to do. What can I do? I think people just like ascribe certain values and certain actions to what they think I should be doing if I was like genuinely sincere and not a grifter, which is an armed insurrection. They're like, oh, you haven't taken up arms and seized control over the nearest forward operating base or something. I'm like, I'm not. It's never something that I've advocated for. As a matter of fact, I make fun of that quite a bit, I want to build a disciplined, organized workers' movement in this country, and I'm taking the steps necessary to do that. And for some people, from where they're standing, they feel as though I'm not taking the right steps. Some people disagree with my methods. Some people disagree with the concept. And that's fine. We can have disagreements, right? Democracy is messy. We can have a reasonable back and forth, some kind of discourse around this. But I think one of the biggest issues, this was what? Dustin Gardner. As Troy Kachaka Party's campaign rally in San Francisco tonight, Sean Piker laughed and people in the crowd cheered after a heckler yelled, "Fuck Israel." Because they put Israel's interests first above your interests. I didn't say that. I'm not trying to get Shoykot in trouble tonight, okay? Because they... Also, it's so funny, like this in and of itself is obviously, from the perspective of many, this in and of itself is like indicative of racism. If someone said, fuck Saudi Arabia, ain't nobody would be like, wow, how unbelievably Islamophobic. Or if someone was like, if someone said, fuck Estonia, you know what I mean? Or fuck Lithuania. Or even like, fuck another American state. There would not be like a single damn thing. This is not a 14-like thing. This is a... Come on, Anna Faye's. Come on, you know better. This is literally a California politics reporter for Playbook at Politico who has written about me in San Francisco. Okay, like it's not a random Twitter user boosting this clippable moment. This is a person who quite literally has written about me in California Playbook for Politico. He was the one who wrote the whole... I think it was him who wrote the whole like RNC's coming after you, saying you're like an anti-Asian racist. What do you think? Yeah, imagine if someone said like fuck Florida or something. No one would fucking give a shit. It's just there's only one country that everybody gets all up in their fifis about, and it's Israel. It's like it's totally ridiculous, right? It's crazy. Anyway. I know there's a lot of... San Francisco is not dissimilar in many respects to New York. It's a major heart of capital in this country. Silicon Valley is there. There's an unbelievably reactionary tech movement that has grown in San Francisco. There was a fairly robust local politics in San Francisco that was very left, and it was awesome. And they just gutted it, right? They destroyed it. These tech guys fucking destroyed it. And as a matter of fact, Shoykot himself, ironically enough, also a tech guy, also very wealthy, had funded some of those campaigns too, which is precisely the reason why a lot of the San Francisco left still don't trust them. They just don't trust him at all for that reason. But I do think he's a real one in spite of all of that. Are Dems cooked? VA Supreme Court decision after Obama says he wants a strong Republican Party seems like a backfire. Yeah, we'll talk about all of that in a second. But yeah, so the rally itself was fantastic. I think it was great. It's always great to be in these rooms, you know.
San Francisco, can you hear me? There's a reason why they're not only coming after me, but they're coming after all of these wonderful candidates that are putting the working class first in their message, in their platforms, in their policies, because they're terrified. They're terrified of the fight. They don't want to have that fight. And I'm not just talking about the Republicans either. We know.
I think it's important to stress that there's brewing frustration with the Democratic Party among voters in San Francisco that neither Weiner nor Chan are addressing, whereas Schoikot is. We've seen this in the election results from our city 2016, 2020, 2024, the last of which was the worst Democratic candidate outcome of the three. Running on that being a non-transformative Democrat is not going to win in 2026. Yeah, but at the same time, I think voters are like very conservative in like San Francisco liberals are very conservative in many respects. The San Francisco progressives are upset with Schoikot for domestic reasons, for like very local reasons, right? And that's understandable. I mean, he's been a local operative. He has fundraised or he has funded certain campaigns that have like taken out Dean Preston, for example. So like he's done some stuff that I think is worthy of scrutiny, and it's it takes a lot for him to get over that. It's going to take a lot for him to be able to convince people to give them the confidence that he will be a fighter for their values on the San Francisco left side, right? The left that hasn't been priced out of San Francisco, at least. But then on top of that, there's a lot of liberals who are frustrated with the party in general, but also look at Scott Weiner as like a guy who spent a decade in California politics. They know him. They like him. He's 6'7". He's at all of these events, right? And he is like a familiar face. And in many respects, he's like a perfect guy to take over Nancy Pelosi's seat. He is going to be an inoffensive liberal, right? And that's it. At the end of the day, he's white doesn't mean anything. We're talking about San Francisco. What do you mean? Every single candidate literally has like, every single candidate also says their name in Chinese. Like, have you not noticed that? It's San Francisco. San Francisco white as fuck. Nah, San Francisco is very, very Asian too. They're definitely open to voting into power. The Asian candidates. That's crazy for you to say. It's San Francisco, guys. It's super Asian. That's the reason why they keep saying I'm anti-Asian, which is crazy because the very same people that say I'm anti-Asian are ironically the same people that say, oh, he's so pro-China. He's like from the people that invented the Wuhan flu or the Kung flu is now this like cynical line of attack claiming that I'm fucking anti-Asian. It's insane. And I know Connie Chan also leaned into that too, which is frustrating. Like I said, Connie Chan is one of those people where like I don't even have tremendous smoke for. I just like Schoikot more. I think Schoikot is a better national candidate for the vision that I think would be better for the Democratic Party to lean into. That's it. I think Connie Chan is in other circumstances, in the absence of Schoikot, would be a perfectly fine replacement for Scott Weiner, right? Like she's not super exciting as a candidate. She's not super exciting as a candidate at all, but she is infinitely better than fucking Scott Weiner, right? So that's not even a question, right? I wouldn't even think about that because like whoever wins this seat, it's over. They're gonna occupy the seat permanently. Like Scott Weiner will be, if he wins this race, Scott Weiner will be a Democratic rep from this. Will occupy the seat for basically 4 decades. Okay, so that's terrifying, and that should terrify you. He is exactly the type of Democrat that is horrible. He is exactly the type of Democrat that's a do nothing Democrat that is going to be perfectly fine with the way the party is working. The fact that he's at 40%, and this is not copium for the record, the fact that he's at 40% is genuinely good. It's actually shocking that he is at 40%. Now, obviously, there's a top 2 primary system here. So as long as Shoykat makes it into the top 2, I think the entire progressive forces will surround Shoykat Chakrabarti and push for him. Obviously, what the fuck? Damn. This is the second time this happened. I don't know why. My internet is fine, so I don't really know why this is happening. Yeah, Wiener campaign, DDoS attack. Yeah, that's what happened. M is real high, M is real high, M is real high. Hold on, let me send a text message real quick to make sure. Another F. Deep state is cooking you, brother. Probably. Yeah. M is real high. I'm so sorry. Israel, greatest country in the world. Israel, I love you. What makes that beep sound? Does anything pop up on your computer? Just curious, not being annoying. I mean, curiosity can be annoying, but no, it's just the OBS going out. That's what it is. It says OBS dropped, and it's giving me a notification. But yeah, this is not copium. The fact that Scott Wiener, who has a decade in San Francisco, I mean, who has a decade in California politics, is only at 40% is pretty good. Sorry, dude, it's so fucking annoying how much you say that. Hasanabi gotta say it. What? It's not an easy race. It's not going to be an easy race, but progressive forces need to get to basically push. I saw all 3 candidates in a relatively intimate community forum in my neighborhood and came away extremely unimpressed with Connie Chan, to be honest. Could have just been a poor performance night, my biases towards Shoykat, but I didn't see her and what other progressives do. No, I'll give you the actual assessment. The institutional left in San Francisco was not very confident in Shoykat. They don't think he's like a real left candidate at all because of the previous donations that he's made. And for that reason, they were like looking for someone to make sure that it's not Scott Wiener, and they just found Connie Chen. That's it. They were the ones. But the way I see it is like whoever makes it to the top 2 will get the entire progressive socialist left San Francisco to push for them. I don't think that like people treat Shoykat like a carpetbagger. He's not. I mean, he's been there. He's been there for a decade. But yeah. I mean, I obviously have a lot of confidence in Shoykat. Bro, is LA splaining to an SFer, man? I mean, yeah, because I'm aware of some background information that you might not be. In any case, yeah, so Wiener leads the current race at 40. I think he was a little bit higher too, so that's giving me a little bit more confidence as well. With Chakrabarti and Chan tie for distant second, Chronicle poll finds. New San Francisco Chronicle poll found the likely primary voters across almost every demographic group prefer State Senator Scott Wiener in the race to replace Nancy Pelosi, while the other 2 leading candidates, Supervisor Connie Chan and wealthy former software engineer Shoykat Chakrabarti, are neck and neck in a distant second place. Primary ballots are due in less than a month, and the 2 candidates with the most votes, regardless of the party, will advance to the general election in November. At stake is the chance to represent California's 11th Congressional District, which covers all but the southernmost neighborhoods of San Francisco, the Excelsior, Portola, all the stuff. In total, about 40% of respondents said that they either plan to vote for Wiener or lean towards voting for him. Chakrabarti and Chan, meanwhile, are in a statistical tie with 18 and 17 respondents choosing them respectively. Former Republican Mary Hurabiel is in a distant fourth at 5%, with 30% of respondents saying they would vote for another candidate. The poll reflects the opinions of 819 likely voters in the district, April 28th and May 3rd. Surveyed by text message and email, respondents could take the poll in English or simplified Chinese. It had a margin of sampling error of plus or minus 3%. Wiener's popularity cut across almost every demographic. The state senator who has the best name recognition in the race, that's the reason. He has tremendous name recognition, was the top choice across age groups as well as across ethnicities. That includes Chinese voters. a demographic group Chan has been courting. While Weiner's support among Chinese voters wasn't as strong as it was among other ethnicities, it still was well above Chan's for that group. 36% of Chinese respondents said they would vote for Weiner, while just 19% said they preferred Chan. Chinese voters in San Francisco are a profoundly important constituency. That's the reason why they've been attacking me as an anti-Asian, which is insane. Because if the Chinese population in San Francisco actually knew what my opinion was and like what I think we should be doing with China, they would fucking love my shit. Okay. Not only have I obviously been to China, but I also am not exactly shy about revealing my position on China, which is that we should chart a totally separate path in our relationship with China, which the overwhelming majority of the Chinese population, don't they hate China? No, fuck no. No, you guys don't understand. I literally, look. Maybe it's because I have a relative from Taiwan in my immediate family, but you guys do not understand the complexities of diaspora, folks in the diaspora. Okay, they might not like CCP. They might be from Taiwan. It still doesn't matter. What you're thinking of is an unbelievably reactionary diaspora population. That is not the case in San Francisco. Chinese diaspora does not hate China or the Chinese people. They actually take a lot of pride in how much China has grown, and their attitude is not dissimilar to mine, which is let's not wage war with China, and instead let's chart a different peaceful path forward with China, a massive power in the world. Okay. Like you might be thinking of like the Shen Yun guys or something. Like that's not how it is. Like normal Chinese Americans normal Chinese Americans are basically just like, yeah, it's chill. Let's not wage war with China. Anti-Asian hatred has increased in the country, that sort of stuff. And they have a lot of pride for not only Chinese culture, but also what like China has become as a nation state. In any case, support for candidates in California 11 primary election by ethnicity. And the Scott Wiener has unbelievable name recognition, so he's dominating in this field. And Shoykot has a shit ton of funds, and Shoykot funds and profits off private equity. Said there's no limit to how much personal money he'd spend to win, but wants to ban personal money from funding future elections. Paid to oust the city's only actual progressive supervisor. I know. DSA San Francisco. I know he gave 10 grand to the guy who ended up fighting against Dean Preston. I know it's okay. Okay. I understand why you don't trust him for that reason. I don't have the same considerations that you do. Okay. I know. No, these people are not huge Connie heads. Oh, wait, this person might be. Connie's the only left candidate. You were here one day. Normal Chinese want Connie. Now some fucking grifter from Maryland. This is going to backfire so hard and hurt your brand. Man, shut the fuck up about my brand, dude. Okay. Do you know how much I hear that every day? I believe what I believe, and I make my positions very fucking clear. What do you mean this is going to hurt your brand? What are you, my fucking brand manager? I don't even have a goddamn PR person. Okay, let alone random chatters in the chat being like, excuse me, I'm going to backseat what you are trying to do here. Yeah, dude. Oh, no, I can't believe it. The guy that, like, every fucking mainstream media outlet is calling a fucking anti-Semitic terrorist, his brand is going to be tarnished. What brand do I have? I just have beliefs, okay? I have beliefs. I have my people. And I have an idea of what kind of necessary change needs to take place in this country, okay? And no, like I said, I don't think Connie Chan is like an offensive person at all. I think she's like like a tepid center left Democrat. But I think the politics is Don't have a PR person? What am I, chopped tofu? Austin Ox, you have literally destroyed my career. What the fuck do you mean? What am I, chopped tofu? Yeah, you are chopped tofu, motherfucker. You have played a formative role for years of doing anti-PR. That's crazy. I mean, you've gotten a lot better now with Popstanox, but yeah. Who's better? Who's better, you guys think, at accomplishing their goals? Chuck Schumer by making the left love Israel, or Austin Ox by making everybody love me? Better stop being narcissistic quick because I wasn't even trying. Oh, nice. Okay. Austin Ox is the Chuck Schumer. What Chuck Schumer wanted to do with making the left pro-Israel, Austin Ox has been doing by making everybody be pro-me. He did all that PR for you. Yeah. The Gucci shirt, the house, the cussy, cracker, barbs, Austin Ox's nukes over and over again. But yeah, getting back to the San Francisco race. That's not to say Weiner leads among every sector of the electorate. While he enjoys most of the support from self-described liberals and moderates, progressives are just as inclined to vote for his two top competitors, Chan and Chakrabarty, as they are for him. The three leading Democratic candidates split the progressive poll respondents equally, each getting about 30% of their support. Top issues for voters in the California 11 primary election is obviously cost of living, it's housing, Donald Trump, homelessness, healthcare, Israel, Palestinians, immigration, and another issue. Between Chan and Chakrabarty, the polls show that Chakrabarty had more support from young voters and those who had lived in the city for less than 15 years. Chan, on the other hand, had Chakrabarty beat among middle-aged voters. Other socioeconomic factors, such as home ownership and college education, made for a little difference in preference, but long-term residents in the city were less supportive of Weiner compared with those newer to the city. Scott Weiner has locked down the primary, at least for sure, and that was always going to be the case. He has a lot of name recognition. So the San Francisco Standard wrote an article, and so did the San Francisco Chronicle. The revolution is here. Progressive Democrats changed the party message hits home at packed SF rally. Hundreds of progressive Bay Area voters crammed into a San Francisco nightclub Thursday for a campaign rally held by congressional candidate Shoykat Chakrabarty that featured the hyper-popular and controversial political commentator Hassan Piker. The mostly young crowd was packed shoulder to shoulder, seemingly energized about the rally's change the party theme, a key promise of Chakrabarty's campaign to replace Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. The former tech engineer and centimillionaire who founded a group dedicated to unseating incumbent moderate Democrats shared a vision Thursday for a more progressive agenda in Washington. San Francisco, the political revolution is here, Chakrabarty said when he took the stage a little after 8:30 p.m. The promise has rankled some Democrats in San Francisco and beyond, but it's also resonated deeply with many attendees, some of whom travel from the East Bay and beyond to hear Piker and Chakrabarty speak. T. Bowman, a canvasser for San Francisco voters, says she sees Chakrabarty as a kind of upfront and honest candidate who could affect change in Washington. I feel like the Democratic Party isn't standing up for us in the right ways, Bowman said, citing foreign policy issues and corporate spending on elections. The slate of Democrats running against Chakrabarty includes State Senator Scott Weiner, race frontrunner Supervisor Connie Chan, and Mary Hurbiel, a former Presidio Trust Board member. Chakrabarty has embraced the role of a Democratic dissident willing to buck party leadership. An alumnus of Senator Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign, Chakrabarty has criticized the party's approach to core issues from President Donald Trump to Israel to affordability. We need a new generation of leaders that will deliver on a fundamentally better life for all, Chakrabarty said during his speech. To do that, we have to completely change the leadership of the Democratic Party. After Sanders lost his bid in 2016, Chakrabarty helped found the Justice Democrats, a political action committee dedicated to helping progressive campaigns unseat incumbent Democrats in primary races across the country. The group recruited AOC to challenge Representative Joe Crowley in New York City. After her win, Chakrabarty became her chief of staff at the Capitol, though Ocasio-Cortez declined to endorse him in this race. Chakrabarty was joined on stage Thursday by three progressive candidates challenging incumbent Democrats in primary races across the country who spoke about their desire to reshape the party from within. The stakes could not be higher, Chakrabarty said in an interview before the rally. If we just keep going in the direction we're going, we are sleepwalking into the destruction of this party. So I'd rather change and win than just go to the direction that we're headed right now. He dismissed the notion that his pugnacious approach could hamper his effectiveness in Washington should he advance in the June primary and go to win elections in November. He said he would rely not only on support from his fellow Democrats to pass legislation, but leverage his popularity with supporters on the grassroots level, much as Ocasio-Cortez used their large following to build support for progressive policies such as the Green New Deal. Chakrabarty supporters in attendance Thursday said they hoped that approach could give them a voice in the party they say has failed to stand up for their values. I feel like I've been waiting 40 years for this guy, said Regina Islas of San Francisco, a campaign volunteer and longtime Democrat. One of the things I like is that he's a fighter. He's a feisty guy, and we need that spirit. That combativeness and Chakrabarty's decision to court Piker's support could alienate some voters. Piker has emerged as a divisive figure in the party and a favorite target for moderate Democrats and Republicans for controversial comments on a slew of issues, including Israel, 9/11, and Asian Americans. On Wednesday, San Francisco Supervisor Matt Dorsey said he would submit a resolution to the city's Democratic Party Central Committee decrying Piker, urging him and his supporters to pursue the formation of their own party and to get out of ours. Chakrabarty seemed to lean into Dorsey's censure in a social media video on Thursday, labeling him as a part of the party's old guard. They're attacking us because we want Democrats to stop taking corporate money. They're attacking us because we want the genocide in Gaza to end. Piker echoed the message on stage at the rally, suggesting that Dorsey and the other critics were out of touch with what the voters want. See a lot of people in this room who want to change the party today. We have to fight to make sure we elect responsive politicians who serve our interests. In the week leading up to the rally, flyers in Chinese and English had popped up on telephone poles and lampposts around the city, urging people to come out to protest Piker's appearance. But as the event got underway Thursday, there was no evidence that such a protest had materialized. There's a lesson there in that story, Piker said. Chakrabarty's opponents might have the support of politically powerful outside groups, he added, but we have the people. Everyone on the right is making you a thought leader. Everyone on the left is left of you is just making fun of you in the chat. Yeah. We'll get serious at some point, I think, hopefully. San Francisco Standard wrote about it as well. Tech millionaire running for Nancy Pelosi's seat packed a Soma club with young progressives, a few skeptics, for a night that was part rally, part concert. Now, what's interesting about this, of course, and Nathan J. Robinson said too as well, is aspiring progressive candidates aspiring progressive candidates for office now realize that the support of Hassan is an asset and not a political liability, which tells you how much American politics has changed. So yeah, serious? You're a Twitch streamer? No, I just mean like we have to get serious. I mean, look, the reality is the information environment has changed. Back in the day, pamphlets and newspapers were one of the most profoundly important organs of propaganda for any fucking political movement, for any political party. You know, you got to take what you can, right? I'm not, you know, I have a platform. I will try to use it to the best of my ability to you know, organize people, to get them to move in a direction and make decisions and let their voice be heard. And hopefully we can, you know, change the future of this country and change the trajectory of this country in a positive direction. Mission Local, let 1,000 Zorons bloom, leftist flying to boost Shoykat Chakrabarty's as SF's insurgent savior. Congressional candidate Shoykat Chakrabarty is an outsider of San Francisco politics who has not been welcomed by the city's political establishment, progressives and moderates alike. But instead of seeking their vote of confidence, he's bringing other outsiders in. On Thursday's evening, Chakrabarty's Change the Party rally drew many hundreds of attendees who packed City Nights, a nightclub in Soma, to the brim. What a lot of people don't realize, by the way, are you going to address Virginia? What do you think? It's literally the largest story of the day. You think I'm just going to only talk about a couple San Francisco newspapers that wrote about the rally last night? Or do you think I'm going to talk about the Virginia Supreme Court's decision to overturn the Democratic referendum that allowed for redistricting to take place? So here's the problem. Here's the problem with the outsiders narrative. Yeah, I live in Los Angeles, California. But you know who lives in San Francisco? People that have the same exact issues as many of the people that live in Los Angeles, California, or even Nashville, Tennessee, or New York, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Minnesota, motherfucking people in Iowa. They all have the same exact issues. And not only that, but also I have community members that live in these places. It's not like when I fly to San Francisco, people are flying from, I don't know, New York City to come to San Francisco to watch me speak. No, these are people that live in the city. These are people who live in San Francisco. These are people who are door knocking in San Francisco. They just happen to be fans of mine. So it's very strange to make it seem like, you know, I'm this like outsider. And it's really interesting because I don't think they used to say this about like Charlie Kirk, right? Like the Republican media would never be like, Charlie Kirk is an outsider coming to the red state of Texas. He's bringing his Illinois values, his Chicago values to the red state of Texas to fuck up the party. Like there is so much more consolidation within the ranks of the Republicans, both in terms of the organs of propaganda on the Republican side, all the way down to the political movements that keep growing. I mean, you saw this with like the Tea Party, right? Which is what a lot of people are equivocating what we're doing too, even though there's obviously some issues with that comparison. But, you know, yes, there is an insurgent movement that is demanding more responsive politics, more responsive politicians, and fighters who will not only fight against the Republicans, but also will fight for certain policies that will genuinely improve the material conditions of the working class in this country. It's clear that the Democrats have not been putting up a strong enough fight. That's why there's a lot of discontent. And, you know, that's the environment that we're in. By the way, regarding the attack on Shoykot, AOC's chief just deleted this. Shoykot Chakrabarti tweeted this: instead of fiscally conservative but socially liberal, let's call the new Democrats and Blue Dog Caucus the new Southern Democrats. They certainly seem hell-bent to do to black and brown people today what the old Southern Democrats did in the 40s. Yeah, he said Blue Dog Democrats are racist. Okay? Do you understand why I like this guy, though? I mean, he said this in 2019 as AOC's chief of staff. Like, we have a tendency, I think, the left should not do this ever, but we have a tendency in American politics to punish people for being right just too early, okay? And I don't even think he was too early when he said this at the time, but like, it's really interesting. It's really, really fucking interesting that, like, you know, a guy who said this, who was correct back then and certainly is still correct now, is being presented as not like what his worldview is, what his values are, but instead as like a controversial figure. You know, let's not really dig deep into what his worldview looks like. But if you understand that kind of stuff, you understand why I feel confident in like endorsing and you know, working alongside, even though it's a fucking long shot, working alongside a centimillionaire. Okay, that's it. That's why I don't have issues doing that, even though initially I had my suspicions as well. Regardless of my knowledge of what he represented, I was still worried about some of the things he had done, as far as like who he had endorsed or who he had actually funded the campaigns of. Yeah. The additional backstory on this is that he was upset about Dem leadership, including Pelosi, saying they would fight against the immigration bill and then one day deciding just to drop the fight and pass it on with no concessions. A Republican immigration bill, it literally led to the 2025-2026 ICE fuckery. Yes. And what's really interesting about it is they're doing that to me right now as well. A lot of people who like Connie Chen, or even some people who like Scott Wiener, people who find me to be a dangerous person that's like ruining the party or whatever, are cynically claiming that I'm anti-Asian, which is, I think, one of the funniest things you could possibly say about me, beyond being like anti-trans or pro-Israel, is that I, like, more often than not, I hear the opposite thing, which is that I'm too pro-China, right? And then all of a sudden I'm like anti-Asian. But you know, I there are people who I like, whose takes I actually appreciate, like, you know, guys like this, why disassembler. I don't have any issue with these people. Like, there's a lot of people in the anti-Shoykot camp that I actually literally am totally aligned with ideologically, right? I've never even heard this criticism. Now you're anti-Asian. It's just made up, man. It's made up. Look at what he cropped out in the screenshot. Another endorsement for Chakrabarti from Czech Nose, Pennsylvania. Amazing. Look at what he cropped out in the screenshot. In April, the Republican National Committee resurfaced videos in which Piker expressed irritation with first generation, second generation, third generation Asian people who are dogs to white people. Supervisor Connie Chan, another candidate running against Chakrabarti, who was born in Hong Kong, condemned the rhetoric in her statement at the time. It's disappointing when we become used to people making inflammatory and even racist remarks to get clout online. To which I responded with, you're happy with the current admin's anti-diversity initiatives? This Republican clip chimp was my commentary about a white supremacist org using tokens to dismantle affirmative action. Do you agree with the RNC research team? Does Connie? To be fair, I don't even think she does. You know? You think you're teaching leftists in San Francisco anything about this? We all know about it because it was fucking homegrown. It started with Friends of Lowell that spawned with Diane Yap. Yeah. What he's doing here is smearing Connie as a Zionist in defense of you because she reacted to something. She reacted to some completely indefensible statement of yours. See, this is what I mean. It's like, really, it's indefensible. You find it indefensible. You find it defensible for a white supremacist organization who has actively tried to fucking tackle affirmative action initiatives, which have now led to the anti-DEI movement that we are currently in. You find that to be so fucking... Sometimes you can't be talking like that, white baby. See, this is what I mean. First of all, suck my fucking cock, okay? I'm a goddamn Muslim American who gets fucking called a terrorist every fucking day. Okay? Are we doing racism Olympics? Are we talking about what kind of racism is institutionally completely appropriate? What do you think? Who do you think receives more fucking dick eating on a daily fucking basis? Oh my God, white baby? We're not talking about like black Americans living in Jim Crow South here. What the fuck? I'm attacking the concept of tokens that are being spent in the behest of white supremacy. You can't be saying white baby like that. That's ridiculous. It's a joke, man. I know. It's just like very frustrating. The idea that I'm like a anti-Asian reactionary because I'm saying that the anti-DEI movement that is literally harming Asian Americans right now in some ways was also in some ways deployed Asian faces for white supremacy. This is how it started. That clip is one from the Republican National Committee. Of course, they don't give a fuck about Asian people. I do. Like, if I describe the context of like what my criticism is, and you still choose to go, nah, that's still fucked up. No, you know what I think is fucked up? I think white supremacy is fucked up. I think anti-DEI initiatives are fucked up. Okay, I think racism is fucked up. And if you are going to be a willing participant of white supremacist movements, I'm gonna shit on you. Okay, it's once again people getting lost in the fucking optics of something. And choosing to not read further into what's going on in the process of me describing exactly what's fucking going on. I've had to deal with this shit nonstop with Candace Owens, for example, or Thomas Sowell. Am I anti-black for shitting on Thomas Sowell? Am I anti-black for shitting on Candace Owens, for saying Candace Owens is a token for white supremacy? Some people think that way. I certainly don't. We can have a real conversation about it. But if you just get stuck with the fucking, if you get stuck with the notion that like I'm, I'm a reactionary, then yeah, we're gonna have an issue with that. That's stupid. Anyway, it's a joke, man. I guess people aren't as terminally online as I thought. Sorry, I thought you. Well, yeah. I mean, they try to do this with Nick Fuentes, bro. When I said Nick Fuentes is a gay Mexican white nationalist, how does that make sense? People are like, wow, Hassan, you're being homophobic and you're being anti-Mexican. It's crazy. Like, liberalism is so fucking busted. Like, standpoint epistemology being deployed at the behest of unbelievably reactionary movements is so effective still for so many people, because I don't think liberals understand. Like, they have no way of conceptualizing that someone can be a willing participant in white supremacy and white supremacist movements and fascist movements. We live in the United States of America. The Groyper movement is unbelievably diverse. Okay, Groypers, these white nationalist neo-Nazis on the internet, are far more diverse than whatever the fuck the educated suburbs look like that vote for the Democratic Party consistently. And there's still people turning around and being like, no, I don't understand. What? Well, why are you making fun of all of these all of these brown and gay sometimes white nationalists in the Groypers movement. Like, that's really fucked up, sweetie. Like, have a little bit more nuance, right? Anyway, I don't have any time for that. I don't really give a fuck. If you don't like the way I communicate, it is what it is, right? This is just how it is. I know what it's a reference to. Meanwhile, the Republican Party has actively disenfranchised the entirety of the black voting bloc in fucking Tennessee, and we're having this dumbass conversation. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Anyway, Jamal Bowman, former representative of New York's 16th district, flew in for the event, as did Daraliza Avila Chevalier, Angela Gonzalez Torres, Milat Quiros, who are running for seats in the House of Representatives for New York City, Los Angeles, and Denver, respectively. We have to completely change the direction of the leadership of the Democratic Party. We need a Democratic Party that knows how to fight to stop authoritarian rule, said Chakrabarty. But the biggest draw and most controversial aspect of the night was ostensibly not Chakrabarty, but Hassan Piker, popular left-wing commentator who has over 3 million followers on Twitch, and according to Wired, streams 7 to 8 hours a day. When Mission Local waited to speak for Chakrabarty before the rally, the candidate was backstage in the middle of streaming with Piker. At the rally, Piker's comments echoed Chakrabarty's. We deserve a better party that will put your interests first. He likened Chakrabarty to Zohran Mamdani, Democratic Socialist who was elected mayor of New York City last year, and reappropriated popular Maoist slogan, "We can let 1,000 Zohrans bloom," Piker said. Chakrabarty, both as a candidate and his previous role as representative of AOC's chief of staff, has positioned himself as a combative foil for the mainstream Democrats. While his campaign is staunchly anti-Trump, he has taken particular aim at the Democratic Party and what he calls the failure to stop Trump's authoritarianism. We ruffle some feathers with the Democratic establishment, Chakrabarty said to the roaring crowd, and I'm glad we did. Unlike his opponent, State Senator Scott Wiener and Supervisor Connie Chan, Chakrabarty has not held office in San Francisco, and before putting his hat in the ring and spending $4.8 million on his own campaign, he had little name recognition here. When asked how he plans to build trust with voters who may not know him, Chakrabarty said he's focused on getting as much face time with the voters as possible. I'm not part of the local political establishment, Chakrabarty said. The way that we've been running this campaign from the start is to be as physically available as possible. We've done more public events, more direct voter contact, more conversation with real people in San Francisco than any of my opponents. I think all my opponents combined at this point. The centimillionaire former Stripe engineer who is likely worth more than $100 million is paid gobs to hire an army of door knockers to get his name out, is also turning into social media and its influencers. On Thursday night, Chakrabarty took interviews with both members of the press and members of what his campaign dubbed the new media, content creators and internet personalities with millions of combined followers. The content creators filed in line, waiting to speak to Chakrabarty backstage for a few dedicated minutes for each candidate. But Piker is the most popular. He's sometimes stylized the Joe Rogan of the left and subsequently drawn the most ire from moderate Democrats here. Supervisor Matt Dorsey authored a resolution the same in which the streamer called the Vietnamese refugee a fucking idiotic old lady for opposing communism and supporting President Donald Trump. Bizarre rant. Dorsey and others have sought to paint the online tirade as an anti-Asian, though Piker has said that while my sentiment is vulgar, his statements have been taken out of context. He's streaming for much of the day after all. And on Thursday, no one in the hot, crowded room seemed to pay much attention to Dorsey's flogging. The crowd was more focused on stump chants like abolish ICE, tax the rich, Medicare for all, while flyers posted around the city had advertised plan a counter-protest outside the rally. No one showed up. There's a lot of people who didn't want me to be here today from the San Francisco Democratic Party, from numerous AstroTurf organizations to put flyers all around San Francisco, Piker said on stage. But he added, not a single person showed up to protest. They have the money and interests, but we have the people. Yeah, no show counter protest after putting all those fucking flyers out. Kind of an L. Let's be real. Even the fucking organizers didn't show up. Who the heck even wants you to be helping their political campaigns anymore? Says restore the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah, I don't understand it either, man. The Iran take is delusional. Oh, damn, the U.S. hasn't stopped the jihadist government from being jihadist. The government only killed 40,000 of their own people. Romans lasted 2,000 years. Why does the U.S. even need Europe? Why can't they give bombs to Ukraine? Holy Roman Empire LARPer comes in and says, my newfound fascination is American domestic politics, specifically in the Democratic Party's primary system. And I don't personally understand why people want to even align with someone like yourself. I don't either, man. Kind of feels like I represent a lot of the people's frustrations within the base of the party. Do you think if the USSR was still active, you would live there? That's a silly question. Why do you always make stuff about you? I don't know if you know this, but What we're doing right now is reading news articles about a rally that I participated in. First one is bait. Okay. Well, good bait. F-bombs and disco balls. All this stuff is basically going. It's just like some of the most unbelievably unpopular forces within the Democratic Party that have literally led the Democrats to be the do nothing Democrats that people are very frustrated with, are frustrated with my involvement in campaigns. Look, here's the thing. I have my opinions. I have my beliefs. I don't need to go out, spend my own fucking money flying around the goddamn country to go stump with candidates, to go to rallies. Okay. I can marshal plenty of forces from all the way out here in Los Angeles, California, without ever having to leave my home, right? I don't like leaving my home. I don't like flying around. It's much easier for me to do everything that I'm doing from over here. But the reason why I'm doing it is because there are people who I think are worth it. There are people out there all around the country that genuinely see a significant problem with the way that the Democrats have operated thus far, and they want to move the party into a direction that centers people in my community, people far larger than just my community, but people in the working class, and advance their interests, advance their needs, advance their material conditions. People who want to fight for Medicare for all, people who are going to continue fighting the Republicans, people who are going to do left economic populism in their campaigns. This is what I think is a much more successful method to completely destroy the Republican Party, while also simultaneously advancing an agenda that will be better. I watched for 5 seconds, I already feel dumber. See, it's for these guys, okay? We do this not just for our loved ones, but for our haters as well, right? Because, like, think about a world where this guy could have a positive attitude about the future of America. A world where this guy could have gotten the free education all the way up to college and had a federal jobs guarantee, you know what I mean? And could make ends meet with one single fucking job in a 40-hour work week. Could have hopes, could have a family one day, you know what I mean? Could have time to go out and meet people instead of fucking toiling away endlessly. And then in the brief moments that he has to himself, go to the Twitch stream of a guy who he despises. Right? The ironic part is that you're spending more of your own money to promote these candidates while less people subscribe because they probably think you're getting more money because of all the coverage you get, even though it's mostly smears, including being called a grifter. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. No, people legitimately think I'm getting paid by these fucking candidates. No, motherfucker, I'm spending my own money. What are you talking about? Getting paid by these candidates. I've heard that over and over again. It's like, oh, Shoykop must be paying Hassan. Yeah, totally, dude. I'm famously exactly the... What do you mean? He's just an unfuckable loser, right? What are you talking about? Are you an unfuckable loser? Are you... What's hurting you? What's hurting you today, Chalaburn? Why are you crying in my chat? Also, a lot of this stuff is public. I mean, these are elections. So you could personally, how are you this confident about it? So you're saying no candidate ever subscribed to you? I don't think a candidate has ever subscribed to me. I have no way of knowing, right? But you think a Twitch subscription is like funding, is actually paying me to fly out? I mean, yeah, Kat Abu Ghazalik is a long-term Hasanabi head community subscriber, bought my merch as well. That's before she ran for office. But look, here's the thing. If candidates were fucking paying me for my support, you would know about it because that kind of stuff is public. You can't hide that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's just not a thing you can hide. These are elections we're talking about. And a guy who literally, why are you selling merchandise that's unethical as a communist? Yes. Socialism means no commerce. Famously. Yeah, union made, American made, by the way. Yeah. If there's one thing that you all have spent enough time in this community know, there's one thing you know. It is that I very publicly will say no to a fuck ton of money from companies that want to sponsor this broadcast. Hassan replies to Damaku, why is America so crazy yet the whole world hasn't gone all in on China? Even if the United States falls, the whole world won't unanimously side with China. The ideological stance of China as a socialist state simply cannot be welcomed by capitalist countries or capitalist supporters. The U.S. is just the embodiment of capitalism. Even without it, capitalists worldwide won't suddenly vanish. How to define the West enemies? The West is not simply summarized as Europe and America. The West is an ideology that dictates the strong exploit the weak and the bourgeoisie exploit the proletariat, allowing capital to expand indefinitely. Thus, Europe, America, Japan, Korea, Australia, and many of the vassals, along with their pro-Western bourgeoisie hidden in other countries that support their systems, are all a part of the West. I can only say that the world is fortunate to have China as a stabilizing pillar. If the United States were the sole superpower, I can't imagine how dark it would be. Even the most moderate socialism is still socialism as long as the ideological foundation remains unchanged. Capitalism is terrified. Guess which country wants to maintain the old world order the most? Actually, it's a class contradiction. The global capitalist class fears the dictatorship of scientific socialism, Communist Party, so they desperately try to stop China's rise and promote the China threat theory. Capital flow isn't that difficult. What capital fears is not able to do whatever it wants in a socialist state. Yeah, I mean, these guys spend a good deal of money undermining fucking trade unionism. You know what I mean? That's not communism. That's not socialism. They do everything they can to ensure that you don't even get a fair contract, right? That you don't even get to unionize. And if you do, God forbid, right? From their perspective, you never get a fair contract. So of course they're terrified of the prospect of a surging country that is run by a communist party that has at times over and over again willingly controlled the flows of capital and have engaged in tremendous amounts of control over unbelievably wealthy and unbelievably powerful individuals within China, right? The idea that like Chinese billionaires, for example, can go to prison is terrifying. In the United States of America, billionaires go on stage and say, tax the rich is a heinous slur, okay? They think a demand for more equitable outcomes, a demand for the wealthy to pay their fair share is akin to a slur. So the very fact that the Chinese government even like throws people that have, poisoned like baby formula or whatever into prison or even sometimes, execute them, that is terrifying for the super wealthy. Like if you're the head of DuPont Chemical, why the fuck would you ever want to live in a world controlled by not China necessarily, but at least like a system that resembles the Chinese one? Ken Griffin said he got PTSD from Zoran Mamdani calling him out individually. Anyway, lots of flyers for the protests against Hassan the Hun outside the Shoykot rally in San Francisco tonight, but no sign of any protesters. Pikers here, the rally for Shoykot. Former Congressman Representative Bowman is also here. Prominent San Francisco Dem with a resolution condemning the Shoykot rally and Piker. We already covered all this stuff, right? I think it was one group that just like distributed these flyers thinking that people would show up, and then fucking obviously no one showed up, including the organizers themselves. But then Piker came on more relaxed and simultaneously more awkward than anyone who had preceded him. Like someone from whom public speaking comes naturally, it still feels vaguely uncomfortable. He was the smooth but shy football player. Chakrabarty was the valedictorian he'd been copying homework from. Someone in the crowd yelled, "Fuck Israel." Piker said he had to behave himself. On the podcast Pod Save America, he had defended comments calling Hamas 1,000 times better than Israel, saying he would vote for Hamas every single time. His slogan for Thursday night's event, "We can let 1,000 Zorans bloom." Chakrabarty followed Piker and cycled through his stump speech. Corporate America, tech billionaires should control politics, Medicare for all, affordable housing, clean energy, but with more emphasis on the need to reassert progressive values at the heart of the Democratic Party. Israel was the hinge for more than a few among the crowd. Nathan Selk, 27, said he'd switched support for Chakrabarty after Weiner, during a debate, declined to describe Israel's action as Gaza as a genocide. Weiner has since changed his position. Ani Lopez, 20, USF student, says she doesn't believe in electoral politics, but is supporting Chakrabarty because he's the best option we have. Megan Roche, 27, and Ryan, 28, who declined to give his last name because he works for the federal government, were ready to vote for Chakrabarty, but declined. No, Allah. I care about his policies, Roche said. I don't think someone with $100 million is a functioning human being on the same level as me, Ryan added. He's not a real person. That's a healthy attitude to have about all politicians in general, especially one who's a centimillionaire. But, you know, what is this? Did you know that you're currently the top post on Reddit r/work reform and it isn't actually a comment section full of dog jokes? What is this? Oh, is it the Washington Generals want a strong Harlem Globetrotters team? I'd rather just not have a binary system of dog shit. Any chance you can help efforts in Michigan to help that happen? It's a good analogy. Yeah, it's one that I make all the time. Anyway, all right, let's move on from this. The other thing that I said earlier was the VA Supreme Court denied the results of the redistricting referendum. SCOTUS gutted the Voting Rights Act, and Tennessee carved up the last Dem district, destroying black voter power in the state. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Now, many of you are probably familiar with this quote. If you have done any reading whatsoever, you know that this is JFK, right? And of course, classic, I said, democracy is a pressure valve for the public. This kind of systemic disenfranchisement will inevitably lead to chaos, okay? And this, of course, frustrated every Republican, including former Republican Stacey K. But the Voting Rights Act being repealed was all a result of peaceful right-wing revolution. They accomplished the rollback of Voting Rights Act by winning important elections over the span of the last 30 years. Revolution isn't necessarily a left-wing thing. I didn't say that. That's precisely the reason why I'm using the JFK quote, okay? Also, I wouldn't say that the Republican takeover of American politics has been peaceful at all. Anyway, Ted Cruz obviously responded immediately. This is who the Democrats are campaigning alongside. The is openly calling for violent revolution. Humiliating even for you. They don't teach JFK quotes at Harvard, or maybe you missed it when you grew up in Canada. It just everyone is dunking on him. Okay. And then there's the people who are going, actually. Like, this is my favorite type of dumbass, right? Guy who will come in to be like, well, to be fair, it's JFK's quote, but Hassan openly calls for violence. So I'm going to totally fucking rob the nuance of the context of the situation, right? Like, what are you doing? And then I click on their profile and they're not even a fucking liberal. Or wait, maybe they are. You can check all the quotes here. Oh, yeah, no, it's just Ben Shapiro, Cartier communist, Bill Milligan. Okay. Bill Milligan, Will Chamberlain, denaturalized, deport Hassan Piker, Andy No. It's a real who's who. And then Tim Miller, who also came in hot. Okay. This is funny, though. The quote Hassan is deploying here is from JFK, but I can understand why Ted Cruz might not be a fan of JFK. Yeah, possibly because his dad wasn't a fan of JFK. Okay. Tim Miller says, do not think people should consider violence over Virginia gerrymandering rulings. There are plenty of other remedies. In fact, Democrats are likely to win 8 seats out of 11 and control the House of Representatives. I said, I'm not advocating for violence. I don't think JFK was either. He said, I understand. I just think the quote isn't applicable in the case of Virginia. To which I said, I think the VA Supreme Court and the gutting of the VRA are a part of the same nakedly partisan court system that actively works to overturn the democratic wishes of the majority and disenfranchise people. Where do you think this will go if the people of Tennessee lose faith in democracy altogether? The Tennessee situation is materially different from VA. It's really grotesque. Spent most of the pot on it today. The state can barely be described as a democracy at this point, and I can understand why people would be demoralized. That said, is it worse than Hungary, which just defeated an authoritarian without mass violence? I don't believe so. There are a lot of great people, Jonas Pearson, Tennessee Holler, doing revolutionary organizing there without suggesting the answer may be violence. If anything, violence there would probably empower the authoritarians elsewhere. Once again, Tim Miller's like, I understand the point that you're making, but I'm still going to act like you're advocating for violence. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm saying if you keep destroying different pressure valves, if you keep telling people they can't protest in the streets, if you jail them over it, okay, if you take away their power to vote, if you take away their representation, then people are inevitably going to lead in that direction, which is, ironically enough, exactly what JFK was talking about, right? That's it. It's nothing new. I don't think he understands that this sentiment isn't promoting violent action. It's that it leads people other than you making that choice. It's about removing a pressure valve. Yes, I make it very clear. And yet, there are plenty of liberals who fucking despise someone ever leaning into systemic analysis. There are plenty of people who think analysis equals endorsement. There are plenty of people who genuinely cannot comprehend someone saying, look, these kinds of seismic shifts that disenfranchise voters, if left unchecked, will inevitably create a destabilized system. And in the aftermath of said destabilized system where people have no pressure valves, they will take violent actions. This is not to promote violent revolution. It's to try to avoid violent revolution. Your post needs to include analysis alert. Yeah. Abdullah said, are you going to condemn your buddy's call for a violent revolution? Yeah, I don't think Abdullah Sayed is going to call out JFK. I don't think he's gonna. Abdullah Sayed, do you condemn JFK? Don't you think JFK is Hamas? Hate the messenger, but you're the boy who cried wolf, but it was a wolf getting closer and closer and closer. Never that it wasn't coming, in my honest opinion. Yeah. Graham Plattner says, just ignore the court ruling. I'm old enough to remember when Republicans in Ohio just ignored court rulings repeatedly and did it anyway. Yeah, I think they should, by the way. I agree. Which, by the way, VA Dems are not. They're saying we respect the decision of the Supreme Court of Virginia. I don't respect it, okay? Fuck it. Ball. Fuck it. We play ball. What are we doing? Why did you even do this to begin with if you're not going to fucking push for it? Like, these guys are shaking up the system on a daily basis. You have to shake it back in order to defend your constituents, in order to defend democracy. This is something that I have talked about quite frequently, okay? Democrats, in an effort to consistently point back to the institutions and their infallibility, keep giving in to the Republicans who are destroying said institutions. Leftist streamer Hassan Piker calls violent revolution inevitable after Supreme Court throws out Democrat redistricting map that would have given the party a 10-1 House advantage. Get the full story. It's so insincere, and I personally don't give a shit, you know? It's so unbelievably insincere, no matter what happens. Hassan, if you leave the cake in the oven for too long, you will burn it. Them, how dare you suggest we burn the cake? Yeah. Randy Fine is adding Director Cash. Democrat leading spokesperson and Muslim terrorist Hassan Piker is calling for violence in the aftermath of the court ruling striking down to illegal gerrymander in Virginia. Democrats have made Muslim terror violence a core part of their party. I love that the moderate Democratic wing, by the way, is like pretty much right there with Randy Fine. Like, they haven't resorted to calling me a radical Muslim terrorist, but you know, they certainly don't have an issue with it. Yeah, quoting JFK is terrorism. Quoting JFK is terrorism. Great. All right. I guess I'm going to fucking prison. What am I supposed to do? What kind of an idiotic country do we fucking live in? And this was a very salient take. Okay. And I totally agree with it. When I say the country is institutionally rigged for Republicans, I'm talking about how Virginia gets their maps struck down after a 2-year process involving multiple legislative sessions and a statewide referendum, but Tennessee can just decide not to enfranchise Memphis anymore. And that's literally what's fucking going on here. It is so frustrating. So that's our top story for today. Let's get right into it.
Struck down a new
Democrats are taking a significant blow from the Virginia Supreme Court. in the aftermath of this referendum that took place to redraw these maps. Brutal last 10 days in redistricting. Calais's decision significantly weakens the Voting Rights Act, opening the door for more redraws. Tennessee Republicans passed 9-0 congressional map. LA on track to eliminate at least one Dem seat. VA Supreme Court overturns Dem's 10-1 map. I mean, it's so obvious what's going on. These judges are basically playing politics, but they're wearing a fucking robe while doing it. How do you not see it? How can you not see exactly what's going on? No, LA is Louisiana, chat. Louisiana is on track to eliminate at least one Dem seat. They're politicians in robes. They're nakedly partisan.
Congressional map that was passed by voters last month. Democrats have proposed a new map with the hopes of flipping 4 Republican-held House seats, and this is the latest battle in what's become this nationwide redistricting war. CNN's Arlette Saenz is here in the Situation Room. And Arlette, this is a big blow to Democrats.
Yeah, it really is. Democrats had been hoping to shore up their efforts to try to reclaim the majority, but this ruling from Virginia's state Supreme Court is a significant derailment of those Democratic plans. Now, the Virginia state Supreme Court ruled that the creation of this referendum that happened last month violated the state's constitution. Our team is still reading through this opinion, but this certainly will be a major setback for Democrats going forward. Democrats had drawn this map hoping to create an additional 4 seats for Democrats in next year's Congress. They had kind of sliced up the more Democratic suburban areas of the Washington, D.C. area to make these districts that pinwheeled out into more rural areas. But now, for the time being, this is prevented from going forward. This is made even more complicated by the fact that we have seen so many Republican states swiftly moving over the last week to redraw their maps. We've seen Florida and Tennessee pass measures to try to draw their maps and gain more Republican seats. There are other efforts underway in Louisiana, Alabama, and South Carolina as well. And so that really can potentially shift the way that some of these House races are going to look heading into November. You know, Democrats are really hoping that they can reclaim the majority. They feel that they have a lot of the political, economic headwinds are working in their favor. But certainly this is a major setback in this redistricting race, as we've seen states across the country, Republican and Democrats, trying to redraw their congressional maps to acquire more seats in what's going to be a very close midterm election.
And you're seeing a difference in how some of the states are doing it. Like in Virginia, it was the voters, right, who voted for the redistricting. In other states, you're seeing the legislature take the reins and do it themselves, right?
And that's one thing that Democrats have tried to argue is different from what they are doing compared to what some of these Republican states have been doing. We saw California and Virginia come out with referendums where
the system is unbelievably favored for Republicans to continue leaning into white supremacist values and disenfranchise certain groups of voters, specifically black voters, that end up voting for the Democratic Party. Okay, this is not new. This is literally the history of the civil rights struggle. This is why the Voting Rights Act had to be passed to begin with. It doesn't make any fucking sense that we're even having this conversation. We knew that this was going to happen. And that was literally the GOP's assessment from the start, where they were like, oh, well, there's no need for this anymore, right? There's no need. There's no need for any sort of checks, any sort of safeguard measures that will ensure that there is democratic participation and black voices will be heard in the South. Brother, there was a war that was fought to disenfranchise black people, or continue their disenfranchisement, continue their slavery, as a matter of fact. And there was plenty of wars that were waged to ensure that that disenfranchisement continued in the South, especially. The idea that the Republicans would play ball and they would be nice if there was no such rules stopping them from doing this is totally ridiculous. Obviously, the Tennessee Republicans are using the new VRA decision coming down from the Supreme Court to their advantage to say, no, this is a nakedly partisan thing. No, it's not a nakedly partisan thing. Okay, you're not redistricting specifically in a nakedly partisan manner. You're redistricting to disenfranchise black voters. Okay? That's it. It's very clear what's going on.
Voters had to decide if they...
And this is the Tennessee side of the conversation. I'm not talking about Virginia in this circumstance. But those two things are tied to one another. The Supreme Court decision that undermined the VRA is exactly what is tied to the same thing that took place in Virginia. If Democrats want to combat the Republican redistricting in Texas, they have to go through this long and convoluted process, right? They even leave it up to the voters. They put out a referendum. And the people of Virginia vote. The people of Virginia vote for that redistricting. And then they redraw the maps, okay? And then the Virginia Supreme Court goes, nah, sorry, doesn't work that way. What the fuck do you mean it doesn't work that way? None of you guys were had a significant say in this. Like, the people voted. You're denying the wishes of 3 million people in Virginia. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, I think the Democrats should simply ignore the Supreme Court ruling. I agree. This is not Canada. We uphold the Constitution and Supreme Court rulings here. No, you don't. Sarah Longwell replied, instead of violent revolution, maybe we could persuade a lot more people to vote Democrat than Republicans. Worth a try. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. One, I'm not advocating for a violent revolution. But let me tell you, between you and I think you're the one who's leaning further into that direction. You're making it inevitable. You're advocating for the inevitability of that with this kind of sentiment. Oh, come on, just vote harder. The fuck do you mean just vote harder? They did vote. This is a denial of their vote. That's the conversation we're having. People fucking voted super hard. What do you do when people vote and then the Supreme Court turns around and says, sucks to suck? Oh.
Actually wanted to move this forward. And this was a very close race that happened just a little over 2 weeks ago. I think that this passed by about 3 percentage points. So it's something that Virginia voters were very torn up about, but had decided to move forward with. But then we have seen more Republican-led states really turn and try to just do this through their state legislators, with Texas being the state.
By the way, this is a test, okay? This is an expansion of the permission structure. We cannot permit them to do this. We have to fight back. Like, what's to stop if they can overturn the democratic process in Virginia by way of the Supreme Court of Virginia? What's to stop them from trying this in other states? What's to stop them from doing this at the federal level? Hello? Do you guys not understand what the fuck's going on? Like, okay, fuck it. Let's just let them overturn elections. And then when they do, like they did here, right? When they overturn the election, we'll just go, well, sucks to suck. We'll get him next time. We'll just vote harder next time. Okay, and then they overturn that. What do? Vote even extra hard? Is that what we're going to do? What happens when voting doesn't matter? Because that's where we're at right now. The problem is they control the Justice Department, so they can do whatever. They can do it like, we're awesome when we try to do it. They're like, we're prosecuting. I know, they're already doing that. They're doing that to Louise in Virginia, who was spearheading the effort. She was spearheading the redistricting effort, and they literally sent the goons from the DOJ to prosecute her. What are we doing? What are we doing? We are living through fascism right now, and people are just oblivious to this reality, okay? It's in the middle stages. It hasn't been completely finalized as a fucking fascist project. But we have to do something about it. Like, the reason why these redistricting battles are taking place is because Trump is unpopular and he knows it, okay? He knows he's going to lose the House of Representatives and possibly the Senate too. He doesn't want the people's democratic will to be recognized. That's why they're redistricting. They're playing the fucking board because they don't have the numbers, and people are out here going, just vote harder next time. Be careful, they will come for you next. Man, I know that. What the fuck do you mean? I know that. I know that already. And by the way, come for you next. They're already coming for me. What have you been paying attention to the news for like the last 3 months? It's been non-stop. Dem response to VA court decision is telling people to turn out and vote, even though they just did that and it didn't work. Do you think the courts are going to overturn the midterm results? They might as well. If we let them, yes. Yes, actually, yes. They just did. They overturned a referendum. A referendum is an act of direct democracy, okay? It is the most participatory democratic process that you can engage in. It's black and white, okay? It is more of a direct act of democracy than even voting for a representative, okay? It's the most basic form of direct democracy you can have. It's the most democratic process. The Virginia Supreme Court was like, nope, no reason not to redraw CA to be 52-0. Oh, 100%, 100%. Look, if this game is busted, but there are more Democrats in general around the country, or more people who want to vote against the Republicans in this country, let's not say more Democrats, right? But people that want to punish the current administration, they want their voices to be heard. This is what you got to do. Florida changed their maps in like 3 days. Why does it take so long for the Dems to do it? Because the Democratic Party is so used to being the conciliatory party, the party that does concessions to the Republicans, that they have they don't have a dog. They don't have the dog in them. It's that simple. Why do you think I'm going around the fucking country trying to elect people who will fight? Because by and large, there are Democrats out there that genuinely want to fight back. They're not my ideological allies in any way, shape, or form. What, you think a Democratic state legislator from the state of Virginia who is a fan of me or even a fan of the things I say? No, of course not. But it doesn't matter, because anyone that recognizes the danger, okay, the president pro tempore of the Senate of Virginia, representing the 18th district, Louise Lucas, okay, do you think Louise Lucas and I see the world in the same way? Do you think out of 10 issues, do you think Louise and I agree on 9 of them? No, but we agree on the one thing, and that is that we have to fight back against the fascist Republican Party, and that's the one issue that fucking matters. Okay? That's it. I don't have an issue. If the Democrats are going to put up a strong fight, a strong opposition, I'm there with them. I'm by their side. I'll be their biggest, loudest champion. That's it. I don't give a shit if we don't agree on any of the other stuff. This is an unbelievably important, if not the most important problem right now. So many people refuse to recognize that. So many people refuse to reckon with that, okay? Maybe even some to my left refuse to reckon with that, where they're like, oh, well, this is a bourgeois democracy. Why are you even participating in the electoral process? Well, there's a reason for why I'm participating in it. Because we don't have the revolutionary fervor. We don't have the organizational capacity at this moment. We don't even have the class consciousness where people actually recognize that they're working class. And I don't want this country to turn into a full-blown fascist autocracy. And we're already in the middle stages of that transition right now, and people seemingly don't realize it. A great example of that fascist autocracy taking shape is the fact that the FBI raided the office of Virginia Senate President pro tempore, L. Louise Lucas. This comes weeks after she spearheaded a redistricting effort in Virginia, netting up to 4 new blue seats.
Another one.
Clip of Jackson Hinkle saying your strategy worked on him. Jackson Hinkle admits his eyes were opened by Bernie Sanders. Hinkle expressed disdain for Hassan Piker's strategy of trying to induce class consciousness into liberals through social dems. When he himself was first introduced to socialism by Bernie Sanders, he opened my eyes.
Take Bernie Sanders, who's just your average social dem. I mean, he's a liberal Democrat. I don't even know what social Democrat means anymore. He's not what we want, but I think he opens the eyes of many liberals who have never heard the word socialism used in a positive context. Well, you know, yeah, he did, right? He opened my eyes. But then my eyes were really not open. My eyes were only open when I realized that, oh, that's not socialism at all.
Anyway, probably not the best example, but these are some of the people like spearheading the anti-Hassan movement on my left flank, or at least they claim to be on my left flank, which I don't think they are. Okay. I've noticed a sickening trend. Men who themselves are against or support others who are against Medicare for all, affordable housing, voting rights, freedom of speech, equal rights overall are either sex traffickers, pedos, rapists, into child pornography, or others. I'm a sexual predator. I need someone smarter to. Yeah, I have seen this too. I just love puzzles is right. The real dark general commander Jay Jones, Virginia Attorney General Jay Jones, the OG liberal driller, releases a statement on the Supreme Court of Virginia striking down 10D1R congressional map. Today, the Supreme Court of Virginia has chosen to put politics over the rule of law by issuing a ruling that overturns the April 21st special election on redistricting. This decision silences the voice of millions of Virginians who cast their ballots in every corner of the Commonwealth, and it fuels the growing fears across our nation about the state of our democracy. That's my goat. Jay Jones is the dark woke general, okay? If you guys remember, he was saying in his private correspondence some crazy things. And then guess what? Guess what? The people of Virginia were like, that's my guy, okay? My team is carefully reviewing this unprecedented order, and we are evaluating every legal pathway forward to defend the will of the people and protect the integrity of Virginia's elections. Arrest them. Jay, arrest these charlatans who are playing partisan politics while they wear those robes, and you will be reincarnated as a lotus flower. Jay Jones, do it. Do what must be done, Jay. Do what must be done. Okay? Impeach these judges. Arrest them. Do what must be done, Jay. That's my goat. Comrade Jones will seize victory once again. That's the really only choice. I checked the VA Constitution and their Supreme Court rules on their own impeachments. Anyway, can the ruling be appealed? No, I don't think so. It's so surreal watching you address a photo of a dude I went to middle school with, but it's amazing too. I mean, listen, I'm a fan, okay? I love Jay Jones. You guys know this. Yeah, the only way that it can get appealed is obviously the Supreme Court of the United States, and we all know that's not going to happen, okay? Not this Supreme Court. Maybe they can ignore it, though, and then, see where it goes from that point on. I mean, obviously, the administration will try to take strong authoritarian action against that sort of thing, but the reality of the matter is sometimes you have to fight these battles, okay?
That really kicked off this whole redistricting battle last summer.
It's a huge loss for Democrats who spent tens of millions of dollars persuading Virginia voters to approve the new map. And it comes one day after Tennessee's governor signed into law a new Republican gerrymander that breaks up the only majority black district in the state. Louisiana, Alabama, and South Carolina may soon pass their own last-minute maps. So here's where that leaves the redistricting wars nationwide right now. Republicans have targeted 14 extra seats. Democrats could pick up 6. Theoretically, it would be an 8-seat GOP advantage. But here's an important caveat. Just because a seat is redrawn by Republicans or even Democrats doesn't mean it automatically goes that way, especially in a year like this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think that's also bullshit, okay? No, like there's a much higher likelihood. There's a much higher likelihood. That's the reason why they're stopping it. Like the idea that we can just like go to, I don't know, like a fucking R+20 district, for example, and like flip it with enough momentum is, I think, silly. And also, there's already a lot of initiatives that are set in place, set in motion to stop that from happening anyway. Okay? We're talking about turnout in midterms, but even then, like, let's say you boost turnout. Okay, what happens when they overturn those results? When will people go, okay, enough is enough?
I'm joined by a terrific group of reporters here at the table. The president did not waste much time crowing about this Supreme Court decision in Virginia. He said, huge win for the Republican Party.
Huge win for the Republican Party in America and Virginia. Wow. Wow, he's not even shying away.
America in Virginia. The Virginia Supreme Court has just struck down the Democrats' horrible gerrymander, Make America Great Again. If you talk to Democrats privately, they don't disagree with what the president just said. It is a big loss. Here's one senior Democratic official who I was texting with as I saw this report told me, not good. A major upset in our bid to win the House back, though we still can prevail. But the hill just got a little steeper, Isaac.
Yeah, another Democratic operative who's working on House races this year said to me, look, 1.6 million people cast their vote and decided a very, very specific thing. And 4 unelected judges just said, piss off. I mean, that is the feeling among Democrats now. A real stinging defeat here. They thought that they would be getting this advantage in a bunch of these House districts in Virginia. Now they won't be. And there is not a lot of time left to get seats anywhere else, even as Republican-led states are moving, as you point out in that map, to try to get a couple more seats for them. This is, it is up to the people to vote, but this is very much a case of the politicians choosing the voters before the voters choose the politicians.
Which, again, we should underscore, everybody is doing.
Yep,
and
for sure.
It started the mid-decade push to do this started at the White House with President Trump. It's interesting, just with this Virginia decision, James Blair, the president's top political advisor right now, was sitting where you're sitting, Nia, last week or the week before, and he was really leaning into the notion that Virginia would strike this down.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I've been texting with folks, and they're saying, and these are folks at the D-Trip saying, yes, this is a setback, but they feel like, you know, they were trying to get 4 additional seats. Probably 2 of those they probably can get, particular if it's a wave.
Because could be a bad year for Republicans.
It could be a bad year, but listen, this is a big blow. Hakeem Jeffries, I basically wrote a column that was like, this was great for Hakeem Jeffries, because he was all in on it. $38 million spent from a group affiliated with him. Obama was in on this, and now this is a big defeat. And one of the reasons why Virginia was so important as well was Democrats were anticipating this Supreme Court decision, which is also going to have massive effects. So they felt like they've got this sort of tranche of 4 seats, and now of course that's gone. Again, they're still hopeful that they can maybe get 1 or 2 of these seats, but it has been a big waste of money. You know, they'll have to pivot maybe to 2028 because this was a procedural decision. It looks like the voters, at least by a small margin, wanted these maps, but they're going to have to wait at least 2 years to get these maps.
So we're reporting what Democrats are telling us privately. Here's the public messaging in light of this defeat in Virginia. Just for example, Gavin Newsom, no vote in Tennessee, no vote in Florida, no vote in Missouri, North Carolina, Texas. This is the key. Virginia's voter-approved maps thrown out. MAGA has rigged the system.
I mean, another way to win the election is to motivate people to come out and vote. That's exactly what that message is trying to do here. I would just note, like, when it comes to Congress itself and how it functions, the impact that this is going to have could be really extreme, because what you're starting to see is that middling, those districts that are hard fought, those make good members. Those make members who make our job really interesting, because they sometimes will cross the aisle and vote with the other party because they feel like that's what they need to do to stay competitive. The fewer of those districts you have, the less and less likely.
Bro, what the fuck? Do they not see that this is in the backdrop of a vote that took place that is currently overturned? Am I being too crazy about this? Maybe I am. Maybe they know something I don't. But it does shock me that without skipping a beat, CNN is like, oh, did the Supreme Court of Virginia overturn the votes of millions of Virginians? Well, you know the solution to that. It's to go out and vote harder. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What are we talking about? Like, how hard? How hard are we voting here? Like, do you mean something different? Like, what are we talking about here? Should vote, but then they pack it R+20. It would take an act of God to win there. That's what I mean. The whole point is, what is this? Did you see the SF publication calling you out for being at Shaikos rally? Use the legendary photo of you eye fucking the food. It's messed up. POV, you vote extra hard.
Play that funky music, white boy. Play that funky music, white boy.
Yeah, Malcolm X holding ballot by any votes necessary. Exactly. No, this is famous. This is the famous photo. This is the famous photo of Malcolm X doing what must be done, which is, by any votes necessary, voting extra hard. Okay, this is what it is. This is what's going on. CNN is basically going the route of VA voters hate this one Supreme Court life hack, soy face. I like that the solution to the Supreme Court overturning the democratic wishes of the majority is to just vote harder. So what then? What happens when they still overturn those wishes as well? If it even happens, it's probably not going to. That's the entire purpose of redistricting. Is specifically so that it's virtually impossible for your voice to be heard, right? Like that's the whole goal here. And in an effort to combat against the national battle for redistricting taking place, because Donald Trump is unbelievably unpopular and knows he's going to lose the fucking House of Representatives, he's urged Texas, the Texas Republican Party to redistrict in Texas to secure additional Republican votes by way of cheating. So then the Democrats were like, two can play that game, except we are Democrats, so we're going to play that game in the most above board, legally sound way possible, which is by referendum. And we're not even going to do that permanently. We're just going to do that until the next census takes place. Because remember, Democrats love putting these limitations on themselves ahead of time. They do everything above board, as they did in the state of Virginia, and they still were like, no. The wishes of the majority are totally secondary.
It is that people work together, that people cross the aisle, that it matters that the margins are close. If everybody's in lockstep, that becomes a huge question of Congress's ability to do anything.
And also it feels like what we are getting into here is redistricting used to be something that happened once every 10 years. And now it seems like we're headed to at least the next bunch of years where it might be happening every 2 years in a bunch of states.
Yeah.
And that changes all the way this goes.
Yeah, I just want to underscore what you're saying, because it's so important that you say extreme. I say bad.
You're acting like they're being sincere, my man. Their job is normalizing any illegal and unconventional action and subverting the attention from how this shouldn't be possible. Yeah. No, it's totally ridiculous. It's always when they go low, we go high. Always. That's the Democratic method. It's always the Democratic method. When they go low, we go high, and they just keep going lower and lower. And they keep slicing our fucking ankles every step of the goddamn way. They keep dunking on us. What are we doing?
Just bad. This is bad for America to have so few of those sort of moderate, either Democrats or Republicans in Congress. And it's not even just that it makes your job interesting, it also helps make compromise, which is kind of the way it's supposed to work. Let's just kind of take a step back for 1 second. And our friends over at the hotline at the National Journal put into perspective not just Virginia, but what we've seen, which is why it makes it so bad for Democrats on redistricting over the last 10 days. Calais, the Supreme Court decision significantly weakened the Voting Rights Act, opening the door for more redraws. Then Tennessee Republicans passed the 9-0 congressional map. Louisiana is now on track to eliminate at least one Democratic seat. And then, of course, we just saw.
I mean, this is such a sad state of affairs, but this is probably correct. Three-way parlay. Democrats win the popular vote 56-44 in the midterms, end up with a 6-seat majority in the House, and then 4 of them die within 6 months. Or Democrats win the popular vote 56%-44 in the midterms and end up with like maybe 1 majority seat in the House, given all the redistricting initiatives, and then 4 of them die within 6 months, giving the majority back to the Republicans somehow. Ah! Because like right now we're looking at a new calculation in the Senate, right? You got Abdul, you got Plattner. Abdul in Michigan and Plattner in Maine. Except there's one guy who has been caucusing with the Republicans in the Senate quite a bit. John Fetterman. So like, even when you lose, even when you win, you still lose. Welcome to being a fucking Democrat, dude. And then people yell at me when I say this can't go on. Okay? I don't want fascism to win in this fucking country, but it's winning so goddamn hard. It's doing victory laps. Okay? They're pissing on the carcass of American democracy. Please, can we fucking fight back against it? And the Democrats are too busy yelling at me, the fucking Twitch streamer, rather than doing something about the goddamn fascists. Yeah, if it's 51-49, Fetterman with 100% switch sides to give the majority of the reps again. Yes.
What happened in Virginia. And just to sort of continue to pick up on your point, I want to listen to the state Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey from your home state of South Carolina.
There's going to be another Democratic president at some point. I hope that's not the case, but it's going to happen. And it is important, I think, that there's somebody somebody from South Carolina can make a call and somebody at the White House will answer it.
Make sure the map accomplishes the goal. If at the end of the day we create a map that gives Democrats more competitive opportunity, what have you gained?
Like, this is not even about representing the wishes of the public at this point. It's like pure partisan politics. And they've already redistricted so fucking hard. Okay? They've already redistricted so hard that they might end up carving out seats that are more competitive. Like, that's where we're at. Okay? That's where we're at currently in American democracy. It's so funny. They're like, we've disenfranchised voters too hard. So much so that we might enfranchise voters by accident. We can't do that. That's an interesting point from the South Carolina guy. If you actually care about your state, it's good to have someone in the governing coalition, no matter what party's in charge, but they don't really care about their state. No, of course not.
Translation, there's trepidation in South Carolina to take advantage of the Supreme Court ruling like other Southern.
Again, they're not worried. Guys, you need to understand. They've already successfully disenfranchised voters so hard in South Carolina that they're now saying we might be disenfranchising so badly that it ends up creating competitive districts where Democratic wishes could be heard. Like they are possibly going to be victims of their own success. That's the calculation here. It's incredible. I unironically asked one of my Chinese friends what his opinion on the Cultural Revolution was, and he said his grandfather deserved to die. What the fuck? That's a bit much, don't you think? He said my grandfather was a rightist who participated in counter-revolutionary behavior, so it was good that he's gone is crazy. That's crazy. That's a crazy take. I don't know if I can support that sentiment.
Yeah, listen, because what you would probably have in South Carolina is no black representation, right? You would have seven Republicans. Clyburn would.
Can you explain the South Carolina thing more? I don't get it. South Carolina is already fucking redistricted into oblivion. A big part of the process is chopping up these districts in a way where the reliable Democratic Party voters, more often than not black voters, right? Because that's the only vehicle for change that they have to have their voices be heard, where they're like black voters all around the country and especially in the South are making a calculated decision to vote for the less racist party. Okay? That's it. Everybody knows it. That's the whole point, right? The party that has, at the very least, expended social and political capital in the past, at this point, many decades ago, to actually allow black people to vote, for example, right? So they still remember that, and they're making this decision where it's like, well, both parties are pretty fucking racist, but, you know, I'm going to go vote for the party that isn't, like, actively saying we need to go to prison and we need to be killed, okay? But for the Republicans, that's too much of a threat. So what they're doing is trying to roll back the clock on civil rights in this country, and they have successfully done so, right, by way of lawfare, by way of the court system, and certainly through the process of redistricting, where they take heavily populated areas where there's a lot of black voter density, and they chop them up and they slam them into other districts where they will be overpowered by the reliable Republican votes. And that's what they're doing. That's what redistricting is. True, although as a black person, it's all over the country, even where we sometimes choose to live is dependent on whether it's less racist than the other town next to it. No, absolutely. And basically, there's only so many ways that you can chop these districts up. And at some point, you have to make the calculation, because there's too many black people from the perspective of the Republican Party, where are you going to chop it up in a way where you have like a bunch of plus 10 R districts? Or are you going to chop up these districts even further where you maybe have some R plus, like, because currently, let's say you have a bunch of safe, reliable Republican districts where you have successfully disenfranchised the black vote. Okay? But that means you have to have one big black district, right? That is going to be reliably voting Democrat. I already gave you the reasons as to why the black vote goes in the Democratic Party's direction. So now we're moving on from that. Now I'm giving you the second point. So there's always one district that's like putting up Assad numbers for the Democrats, right? In a lot of these Republican states, in a lot of these red states, that's because they have to cordon off all the black votes into one district and then chop up the rest of the black voters in the South into reliably Republican districts. Now, what the South Carolina gerrymander is seemingly trying to do is to move some of these districts around in an effort to, instead of having like, you know, a bunch of plus 10 R districts and then one plus 40 blue district, they are trying to chop it up in a way where they can have only plus 4, plus 5 Republican districts. This creates a unique problem for them. If they don't, racist joke, dude? Wait, what do you mean? What's the racist joke? What are you talking about? People don't realize quite how racially polarized the South is. South Carolina isn't even the worst, but why South Carolina is a Trump plus 46 and a Trump plus 8 state? Yeah. So basically, then why not defend it on the basis of Republican pop versus Dem pop? Otherwise, it sounds like identity politics. Brother, because there were previously rules in the rule books to stop it on the basis of you know, black voter disenfranchisement, specifically because it was done initially and still to this day to disenfranchise black voters. It might hurt people's feelings to think of this as idpol, okay? But that's literally what the Republicans are doing, okay? It is identity politics when the Republicans engage in anti-black politics. But because that's the overwhelming, domineering attitude that people have, anti-blackness being a core value in American politics in general, people don't see that as identity politics. They only see the retort to that as identity politics. A similar concept exists in even the gaming sphere. Maybe I'll give you an analogy that you can understand. It's not politics if there is there's a white guy that's the main character doing a bunch of political shit. It's only political if there's a black woman, right? That's what gamers are tuned into, because the norm, the default, is a white guy. So if you actually don't have a default white guy and you have a black woman or something as the main character, all of a sudden it becomes political. It's like, whoa, 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 what is this? Call of Duty didn't used to be political. Why are you making Call of Duty political by putting a black woman? That's identity politics. No, it's still identity politics. If the default position is a white guy, that's still identity politics. Is white identity politics, but we just see that as apolitical. We see that as non-political. You get it? Robert Reich has a better explanation. He explains it in 30 seconds. Here.
Now, here are 16 black dots and 12 white squares. If districts were not gerrymandered, they might look like this. And 3 out of 4 would have black dot majorities. But after gerrymandering, 3 out of 4 have white square majorities.
Yeah. So now they're trying to game it out. You see how there's the one super majority black dot district here? Okay. South Carolina has a problem. They're trying to parse this up in a way. They're trying to piece up the one black majority district into all of these other districts, but they simply don't have enough votes. Okay. That's their worry. Where they're like, okay, we want to eradicate the last black dot district that we have, and cordon it off in a way where it just perishes in an effort to disenfranchise the voters there and their needs. But that creates a unique problem where all of a sudden the margins are far too narrow for every other district. That's the reason why the South Carolina politicians are worried about potentially redistricting the state, because they've already done such a good job of disenfranchising the black vote that if they disenfranchise it further, it might end up making more competitive districts. This is the same in Florida. Okay, it's the same in South Carolina. That's the only thing stopping them from doing this.
Be not in Congress. He's got the 6th district. So yeah, this is a pendulum swing, right? And the idea is that, every action often has an equal and opposite reaction. And are we going to get into the situation where, as you said, every 2 years, there is some different map? And it sows, I think, distrust and disengagement among voters, right? Particularly in some of these states where it isn't even the voters that are making the decision.
Yeah, the problem is the Republicans have already racism maxed, okay? And if they try to racism max a little bit, they end up fucking up the min-maxing and ironically create a voting system where they might lose seats. That's their fear.
It is elected leaders of one party. And so this, I think, has set off a real arms race where we could see a House that doesn't really represent America.
I think we're already there, but all right. So the first story was Virginia. Now we go to Tennessee. This Twitter user says the KKK is alive and well in Tennessee. The sergeant of arms blocks Representative Justin Pearson, who's goated, from entering a committee meeting about redrawing the map specifically for the district he represents. Fucking shameful. Okay. So let's take a look at what's going on in Tennessee. Protesters are demonstrating against Tennessee redistricting that could give GOP an advantage. Now, that's a very nice way to put it. What the GOP is doing is basically eradicating the last black majority district in the state of Tennessee. They're just saying, nope, Tennessee's all red. Fuck it.
Are giving their party a better chance to win every congressional seat in November. They voted to eliminate the state's only black majority district on Thursday. Opponents held a passionate...
Like, that's insane. Look at this. Look at this.
Eliminate the state's only black majority district on...
It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. My district is fucked. I just don't even know what we're supposed to do now in Memphis. Because remember, when you lose that political representation, your district no longer is going to get the funds necessary, for example. Like, you need to have someone represent your interests. Okay? So you have to remember, like, even having one guy in that situation matters quite a bit. Okay? This is a huge problem with Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico doesn't have the adequate representation, for example, and that's part of the reason why Puerto Rico gets shafted all the goddamn time. It's a territory. This is voter disenfranchisement through and through. For the black voters in this state, their only reliable option here is Memphis.
Thursday, opponents
like we often forget that, like, oh, these southern states are so poor, they're so right wing, they fucking suck. And it's like there's heavy political polarization that has taken shape in these states that have a legacy of slavery, they have a legacy of disenfranchisement of black voters. But these states, just like California, still has like a shit ton of Republicans, right? There's a shit ton of Democrats, specifically black Democrats in these states, okay? And we just never hear from them. We never fund any institutions or fund any movements that will fight for them. We just completely have given up.
Passionate demonstration. They say this move punishes black voters. Supporters, though, say the new maps are not driven by race. Ed O'Keefe's looks at how...
Yeah, they can't say that it's driven by race, obviously, because it's still kind of illegal, okay? That's the only reason why they're like, no, this is purely partisan. This is purely partisan. You can't prove it. I mean, in Tennessee, it's the one state where you could technically prove it because these motherfuckers will sometimes get a little too active and say the quiet part out loud, for example. You know?
This fight is playing out.
Chaos at the Tennessee Capitol in Nashville Thursday as Democratic lawmakers and protesters tried to stop legislation breaking up the state's only Democratic House seat. Yelling, holding signs, calling the move Jim Crow 2.0, even burning a printout of the Confederate flag. The change follows a Supreme Court ruling last week that narrowed the Voting Rights Act. CBS News election law analyst David Becker says the ruling has this effect.
And in some cases, that's going to mean that they blanch their entire state's delegation and really minimize the impact of the minority population in the state.
That's the concern for Democratic Congressman Shamari Figures in Montgomery, Alabama, where a similar pending Supreme Court decision could draw his majority black district off the map.
So what that translates into is this. It's okay to discriminate against Democrats who are black, but it's not okay to discriminate against black Democrats. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Alabama's Attorney General says it's just a question of reflecting the state's Republican tilt.
Alabama's a conservative state. I expect that we'll have conservative representatives.
Civil rights activist Doris Crenshaw, who at 12 years old started working on civil rights issues with Rosa Parks, was at an
Nashville was already one of the most egregious examples of racial gerrymandering as shown by the 2022 redraw. They followed the same method in Memphis, yeah. A masterclass in election rigging, how Republicans dismembered a Democratic stronghold. Scroll through our visual guide to see how Tennessee Republicans carved up Nashville to benefit themselves. Republican lawmakers in Tennessee gave a final approval on Monday to an aggressive plan to split Nashville, a Democratic bastion in a deeply Republican state, into several congressional districts as a part of an effort to tilt the state's congressional map in their favor. The plan is now waiting for approval from Governor Bill Lee, who's likely to sign it. Here, I'll give you an example of how this works, by the way. This is exactly how, when you have ballot measures, right, in places like Tennessee, where I don't know, like there's overwhelming support for increasing the minimum wage and shit, you end up getting like 60% of the entire state to vote to protect abortion, right? Or to increase the minimum wage for paid family leave, things like that. You do all of this stuff, and people clearly have an appetite for it, but the representation within the state does not make any sense. Where you're like, what do you mean? This is a state that has 60% approval, or is very clearly in favor of these like unbelievably progressive ballot measures, and yet some of those ballot measures never actually go through, even if people vote for it. Sometimes in the state legislature, you end up losing, or the state legislature will actively work to undermine the democratic wishes of the public. And this is how it works. I'm absolutely fuming over the VA decision. It's so fucking bad. The legal reasoning is absurd on its face. Yeah. This is how it happens. This is how they rig the system so that the democratic wishes of the majority are never followed on. This happens in fucking, you know, this happens everywhere. This happens especially in deep red states, though. Democrats acting like pussies has got to end. I agree. Nashville currently sits in the state's 5th congressional district, represented by Jim Cooper, a Democrat who has held the seat for nearly 20 years. It's a solid Democratic district. Joe Biden carried it by nearly 24 points in 2020, but on Tuesday, Cooper announced he was retiring from Congress. Despite my strength of the polls, I could not stop the General Assembly from dismembering Nashville. No one really tried harder to keep our city whole, he said in a statement. I explored every possible way, including lawsuits to stop the gerrymandering and to win one of the 3 new congressional districts that now divide Nashville. There's no way, at least for me, in this election cycle, but there may be a path for other worthy candidates. Here are the results of the 2020 presidential race in Central Tennessee surrounding Nashville. The circles represent the results by precinct. The bigger the circle, the bigger the margin of victory for either Democrats or Republicans. This is Tennessee's 5th congressional district, currently represented by a Democrat. Joe Biden won the district by 24 points in 2020. Republicans have created new maps that split the Democratic voters into 3 heavily GOP districts where they're in the minority. Fox News is talking about you. Oh, great.
Before I get to you, I just want to throw it back to Mally there. I have to tell you, Mally, every young Democrat that I speak to, the energy is on democratic socialism. To Vita's point, I mean, she just talked about a communist with Hassan Piker, but every young Democrat talks about democratic socialism, not Roy Cooper.
Well, look, I can guarantee you that Hassan Piker will not be the Democratic nominee in 2028. But yeah, look, there's certainly energy on the left. We saw that in Mamdani's win. But I think you have to take a holistic look. And you have people like Governor Cooper and Ossoff and Wes Moore and Rob Sand and Mayor Pete all either winning elections or high up there in the polling when it comes to 2028. So yes, there's energy on the left, but I think our party is a big tent party, and you can also find moderates as well.
Okay. All right. Janisha?
Hey, so thanks for having me, Will. So let's just talk about Wes Moore really quick. I am not a member of the Party of the Left, and Wes Moore is definitely not a rising star. This is the same guy who lied about where he's from. I mean, is he from Baltimore? Where is he from, guys? He doesn't even know. He lied about his military background, so I don't
Damn,
believe
bro, even Wes Moore is not good enough for these people? Like, that's crazy.
It's okay for his son to transition. No, this is the same young boy that he
Wes Moore is good enough for Patrick Bet-David.
Remember this, you guys. 4 years ago, whatever, he had his son saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So he would not let his son transition. No.
So they were looking at.
That's the thing.
They were looking at. Wes Moore says he would let his son go through gender changing surgery.
I can almost guarantee he would not take his kid in to say, where are the puberty blockers? But for everybody else, sure, if it means he's pandering to the right crowd to rise politically. But who are your rising stars, Janisha?
So my rising stars, I mean, again, I'm not from the left, but if I had to choose someone from the left, I would definitely say Senator John Fetterman. I mean, this is a guy who is not afraid to stand on the mountain by himself and say that he believes in strong borders, right? He loves America.
The rising star of the Democratic Party is a brain diseased ogre who is a Republican.
Who's willing to go against the majority of his quote unquote party. So I think he's the rising star on the left for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And each of our panelists also gave their rising stars of the right. It's fair to say it's pretty clear when it comes to the right. Avita, Janisha, and Mally. It's J.D. Vance. It's Marco Rubio. The question is, who from the left will actually stand up to one of those guys in 2028? Janisha, Avita, and Mally, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, coming up, denaturalizations. They're coming. The DOJ seeking to strip U.S. citizenship.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, dude. I will lead the insurgency into the mountains of Appalachia. Is that ogre as president? Anyway, let's get back to redistricting. Republicans have created new maps to split the Democratic voters into 3 heavily GOP districts that where they're in the minority. This is the proposed 5th congressional district, which Donald Trump would have carried by 12 points in 2020. This is the 6th district, which Trump would have carried by 30 points in 2020. And this is the 7th district, which Trump would have carried by 15 points. These new lines would dismantle a Democratic district, helping Republicans preserve their majority in the state. But sometimes you run out of votes, okay? Under the old districts, there was a significant concentration of voters of color in Nashville. But the new districts split those communities up, placing them in districts that are overwhelmingly white, making it more difficult for their voices to be heard. Fox News, Hassan is a communist, trans people are aliens, and Democrats are illegal aliens. Oh, closed presence. Thank you for the 50 bones. I didn't see that. So, yeah, I mean, this is the energy we need. Representative Justin Pearson is assaulted by law enforcement officer in Tennessee State Capitol and rightfully gives him an earful.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You stupid mother.
I mean, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing here, man? What the fuck are we doing? I mean, this is literally, yeah, this is what Jim Crow looks like. Do not look away. Isn't it kind of Jim Crow-y to allocate certain areas by race? Oh my God. Yes, it is, dude. Yes. When you create racial disenfranchisement, the solution to that racial disenfranchisement is also going to protect certain races. It's crazy. You started the problem. Okay. Now you're complaining that the solution is the real racism. I hate this shit. I hate this like reverse racism ass bullshit where people love doing this, where they're like, well, don't you think that offering restitution to racial wounds that were created is just as racist as the racial wounds? No, it's not, actually. It's not at all, as a matter of fact. That's the opposite. Okay? Anti-racism is not racism. It's so fucking ridiculous.
Information session hosted by Congressman Figures Thursday night.
You've spent your entire life working for more representation, and they may be on the verge of taking it away.
It does not sit well with me, and shouldn't sit well with the people of goodwill in this country.
As of yet, nothing in Alabama has changed. The Supreme Court could issue a ruling allowing the state to redraw its map as early as today. Now that Tennessee has acted, 9 Republican and Democratic-controlled states across the country have redrawn their maps. 3 more here in the Deep South may do so ahead of November's elections. Gail?
Okay, everybody's watching this one, Ed. Thank you very much.
These maps are racist tools of white supremacy at the behest of the most powerful white supremacist in the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. Memphis is the most beautiful place on the planet. It's the place that raised me, my brothers, my parents, my grandmothers, and where my ancestors' bones rest. And what you are doing today is eviscerating the only black majority congressional district in our state because we are majority black. This is about attacking, targeting, and cracking District 9 into pieces for more political and racial dominance and white supremacy in the state of Tennessee. You put us on cotton plantations and tobacco plantations. You denied our human rights and our right to exist as children of God, and we are still here. You destroyed Tulsa. You killed and lynched black folks on Poplar Tree. Shelby County, Tennessee had the most lynchings of anywhere in this state where you're taking this district, and we are still here. No matter how much you try and break us and make us bend and make us quit, we will still be here.
We're here today once again for a white...
I love Justin Jones, Justin Pearson are so goated. They're dope.
A White Sheets Caucus meeting in which they're trying to disenfranchise people.
There's objections in Jones once again. That is out of order.
You know what?
Is it out of order? Didn't they literally find Klans robes in the where did they find it? Hold on. Oh, it was in Mississippi. My bad. My mistake. My mistake. I fucked it up. Wait, no, is this it? The Mississippi Department of Public Safety uncovers rare Klans artifacts in one of its offices. A notebook with meeting minutes and a ledger are among Ku Klux Klan related items that the Mississippi state government uncovered while clearing out an office. I shouldn't even laugh. It's insane, but all the objects have been transferred to the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. Officials say it will take months to process all the materials. They were like, we found so many Klan-related artifacts, okay, that it will take months to dig in, okay? That's how many. Here's one of them. Now, you might also see something interesting here. Here's proof of the Red Pro bleep plot against South and USA. The platform of the class struggle, national platform of the workers' Communist Party. Notice something? That the Klan was really against a certain ideology, and a certain ideology in the United States of America historically was always in favor of racial emancipation. I wonder if those things have changed at all. Yeah, but I thought that tanky lefty liberals were the anti-black racists. Yeah, like not even 2 months ago, they found a cache of Ku Klux Klan robes and hoods and other paraphernalia at the Mississippi Department of Public Safety just chilling in a closet. Is not just dormant or an underlying thing. It's very alive and well in these southern states. Yep. The red scare in this country has always been a black scare too. Okay? Has always been the case. No matter where you go, remember that. While the revolutionary spirit might have been dampened in this country in the black liberationary struggle too, in the black emancipatory movements as well, oftentimes by force, by assassinating leaders of black liberation in this country that were self-avowed Marxist-Leninists and Maoists. They were openly communist, right? These movements have always existed. And the spirit, in my opinion, still remains. Yeah, like Kirk. Charlie Kirk. That's who I'm talking about. Charlie Kirk, yeah. And who can forget MLK's last words, counting or not counting gang violence, right? Like, that's ridiculous. He just died, man. Fred Hampton. Just be a little serious, please. Anyway.
Doing. It's shameful, but we know that you all are going to fall in line behind this man here who's going to lead you down the path of racism and white supremacy. It's wrong. It's immoral. And when we say do justice, love mercy, and walk home.
It fails for lack of emotion.
Is there anything Democrats can do about all of this in the short and medium term?
Yeah, I mean, what we're watching right now is incredibly infuriating to watch in Tennessee, a state with a significant black population, just carve up Memphis, one of the blackest cities in America, and ensure it has no Democratic representation. It's infuriating and it's deflating. And that's ultimately the goal, right? The people who do gerrymandering and voter suppression want you to give up. They want you to feel like your power is being taken away so that you stop using your power. Like that's the ultimate win here. And so we obviously cannot let that happen. And here are just like three things. And none of these are satisfying. I want to be specific. None of them are satisfying. But here are the things where we can focus our energy right now. The first is we have to redouble our efforts to take the House and hopefully the Senate in 2026. That is the foundation for the governing coalition that we will have in 2029 with a Democratic president to actually pass things like a ban on partisan gerrymandering, to do real electoral reform, to make our system more small d democratic. The second thing, and this is critically important, is we have to pour our time, our money, our resources into state legislative races, because there's going to be efforts to redraw the maps in 2028, in 2030, and most.
What? Chat being nasty about Charlie now is retracting from the direction we need to go. He had nasty views, but it's not for the point of the conversation. Wait, what? Yeah, I wonder why a community such as this one would be nasty about one of the nastiest propagandists of the most toxic form of politics. What's even more discouraging is that even if the GOP loses in 2026, they need to lose again in 2028. Yeah, I mean, Charlie Kirk was a polite face on the same type of Klansman adjacent politics that we're literally talking about right now. That is very clearly a principled motivator of modern Republican Party politics right now. Like even the images harken back to that same exact time. So. I mean, they're doing it. They're doing it out loud. They're doing it in your fucking face. I don't know what else to say about it other than just look. Look at what they're doing. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is investigating an Atlantic reporter who wrote a story about FBI Director Kash Patel, suing the New York Times over its employment practices, threatening ABC's broadcast licenses, and also Trump releases new counterterrorism strategy with fresh focus on cartels and Antifa. This is from May 6th, something that Ken Klippenstein has been writing about extensively, reporting on extensively, something that will inevitably probably throw my ass in fucking jail too. Check logs. Let's see. You're about to get busted. Tennessee had the first grand. Okay, never mind. That's actually first instance of check logs that isn't bad. Tennessee had the first grand wizard of the KKK's bust in the state capitol until a few years ago. I have a weird feeling. What? Am I weird for feeling off about we need to get Democrats elected being the number one thing that people say? I feel like I've heard we need to get Democrats elected my entire life and it's done fuck all. I mean, that's not the end all be all, but it is definitely a significant part of especially good Democrats, like especially people who are gonna fucking fight, is part of the problem. It's part of the process. There's not really much else we can do. Like,
importantly, in 2032 after the next census. So we have to have as much power as we possibly can to draw the maps in as many places, even in states where we can't take the majority. If we can get close.
Look, all I'm saying is this. If voting didn't matter, the Republicans wouldn't actively undermine the black voting bloc. Okay. And just like that, if any kind of insurgency within the ranks of the Democratic Party didn't matter, the Democrats wouldn't be handshaking with the fucking reactionary forces in this country to actively undermine these insurgent campaigns. If you can't comprehend it, if you can't see the vision, if you can't see the methods, if you think that these are this is simply entryism, if you think that this is simply shepherding the revolutionary spirit back into the Democratic Party that's never going to actually help you out, okay? Just look to what your opposition is doing, because they clearly have they clearly are fearful of this, right? They clearly do worry about this. That's why they're doing everything in their power to make sure that people like myself are actively disparaged and the candidates that I align with are destroyed before they ever make it into the general election.
The majority, we can have potentially an influence on how those maps are drawn. This is absolutely important. This is where the future of American democracy.
The media would be on Hassan's side if anarchists even had a point.
Is going to be, absent some sort of ban on partisan gerrymandering, is going to be decided in state legislative races and in governor's mansions for the map redraws. And we're going to live in a cycle of perpetual map redraws. The last thing here is we have to put pressure on the blue state.
Having grown up in rural Tennessee, I don't think I would have been against this if I didn't find your commentary in early adulthood. So thank you. And what you do matters in these places too. No, absolutely. These motherfuckers all speak like a Dem presidency is a lock in 2029 when in reality it couldn't be further from a lock. I know. You know what I'm feeling right now? I'm feeling the same sense of danger, immediate danger that I felt on like the second day of the DNC, where I was like, why are these guys fucking doing victory laps right now? They're not winning shit. There's no guarantee that Kamala Harris is going to win. What the fuck is going on? There's an environment of celebration that doesn't make sense when you have a broader outlook on the way things are going in the country. And the Republicans are twerking on the Dems. Yeah, I saw that. I mean, this is unbelievably gross. Breaking, the Virginia Supreme Court has voted to overturn the results of the state special election. The decision silences the voices of Virginians who approved on an updated congressional map that levels the playing field ahead of the midterms. The fight continues. And this is what the Republicans posted. This is what they feel about democracy. This is what they feel about voters in Virginia. I'm not sure if you're joking about getting imprisoned by this regime, but based on my lived experience with authoritarianism, it's highly likely to happen to you. You need to refine your writing. It's the only way you might be able to get your words out in 2 years. Yeah, well, it is what it is. Some takes are way too grounded in thinking people are normal and reasonable and not cynical enough. I mean, at a certain point, it goes beyond naivete, right? I think right now, anyone who's still talking about anyone who doesn't recognize the dangers that are imminent, the dangers that are taking shape all around us it goes beyond naivete. At this point, you have no self-preservation skills.
It's where we have the ability to fight fire with fire. Illinois, Maryland, New York, in states where we have control, but where we have put in place, because we like good government, bans on gerrymandering, like in Michigan, we have to put pressure on our politicians to look for ways, like they did in California, like they did in Virginia, to undo those bans to be able to compete here, because we can't live in a world of unilateral disarmament, and we cannot accept any Democratic politician that does.
Good evening and welcome to the BBC News.
I don't. It sucks. It's like you have to be, dude. I got it, man. I got it. Please stop spamming the same article. Okay, I got it. It's right here. You see that? The article that you keep spamming about how I'm going to be public enemy number one is right there. I know already. I'm very aware. Okay, I promise you. I saw your link. I had clicked on it already. I'm aware of it. I know, chatter. I'm going to be public enemy number one. I already am public enemy number one. Okay. Please stop spamming it. Jeez, Lord mercy. Oh my God, they're talking about Carney and ignoring Keir Starmer. So fucking funny how dumb they are. Yeah, I know. Center for American Progress. Neera Tanden said Democrats can learn a lesson from Mark Carney, who moved his governing Liberal Party to the right on some issues and surged in popularity. I wonder if there was another external factor that greatly boosted Mark Carney's approvals. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was us. We did that. Trump did that almost single-handedly, as a matter of fact. Okay? That's the only reason you got a major alarm, a clear-cut instance of one of the two major parties moving to the right on all of these issues and tailing the Republicans, or tailing the Conservative Party, and losing in a spectacular manner in Londonistan. Okay? Meanwhile, the fucking dumbass Democratic consultants are like, oh, but look at Mark Carney. Look at Mark Carney's successes. At a certain point, you have to recognize what they're doing as nothing but ideological zealotry, okay? These guys are the Islamic clerics of neoliberalism. They're zealots. As a matter of fact, it's not even close, because even the council of clerics in Iran make decisions based on defending Iranian sovereignty, whereas Neera Tanden and her kind in the consultant class that have dominated the Democratic Party's national politics for decades at this point would rather go down with the ship. They would rather keep plugging holes in the ship. That's where we're at. They say we are the radicals, when I think I'm a much more pragmatic person than Neera Tanden. I'm willing to defend Democrats who do the right thing. I don't think she is willing to defend the radical leftist coalition. At the end of the day, the party is nothing to me. Okay? The party is just a collection of representatives, elected representatives, that are supposed to represent the interests of the population. At times when it matters, if they fight back against the growth of fascism in this country, I'm going to celebrate that. I'm going to say that's a good thing, as I did in Virginia. But when that very same party turns around and says, what are we going to do? The democratic wishes of the majority are irrelevant. They're secondary to the mercy of the Supreme Court decision. Then I'm going to say, fuck you. Yeah, the Democratic Party is not a real ideological party. Okay? It's not a real party. Doesn't have paid membership. They're just a collection of corporate interests. And they don't always have to be a collection of corporate interests. It's just a brand more than anything else. A brand that unfortunately has moved away from its greatest successes during the FDR era and onwards for like almost an entire century, where it represented social democracy for a very long time. And during that period when the Democratic Party's brand was domineering, it was the Republicans that consistently conceded to left populism. Post-Carter, and certainly after Ronald Reagan, there was a major shift in American politics, in the way that Americans perceive politics. Mostly taking positions opposite of Republicans, more recently even just a slightly less unhinged version of Republican positions. No, that's always been the case. That's what, back in the day, post FDR, it was the Republicans that would take a less unhinged version of the whatever the Democratic Party's positions were. Okay. Now it's the Democrats taking a more moderate version of the Republican Party's positions, tailing the Republican Party and fighting the wars that the Republicans want to fight. American political parties aren't like they are in many other countries. Parties have bylaws, rules, paid memberships, militants, theorists, and cultural organizations. In America, both parties are just labels, and their national org is only a fundraising arm. They have no internal structure. The party is entirely dependent on who you put in it. Exactly. Now, it's not entirely the case. Obviously, the Democrats have a primary system, and so do the Republicans, where they try to actively undermine the wishes of the majority, or they do everything in their power to make sure that no one is even participating in this. Yeah, David Graeber, I'm gonna bring back today for sure. Unbelievably prescient, great thinker. Rest in power to David Graeber. But yeah, I have a very pragmatic approach to this stuff, because I understand that the Democrat just is a way to get ballot access. Okay, it's the surefire approach to getting your name on the fucking ballot. As a brand, its brand is in the dumpster. Okay, it's dookie, certainly, but it has a much easier. It's basically, it has a free election machine that turns out voters. Okay. And not only that, but it is also a reliable way to get your name on the ballot, to get your ideas on the ballot. That's the reason why Zoran Mamdani ran as a Democrat and not as a third party socialist, not even as a third party that is actually active in the city and state, the Working Families Party, right? You have to use everything that you can to keep pushing this message, to keep fomenting class consciousness, to organize to the best of your ability. Bernie Sanders, independent, but most people recognize him as a Democrat because he caucuses overwhelmingly with the Democrats. Yesterday's fit at the rally is teasing Indian fit. Please say you're coming here to India. I don't have any plans in motion to visit India anytime soon. Maybe. Please say from Modi. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. All right, anyway, here is a party, much like the Democratic Party, that used to represent the left flank of politics in the United Kingdom, losing everything as a direct consequence of leaning into this moderate center, or even to the right, which predictably gave way to a massive growth in this now dominant fascist movement in the country. I'm, of course, talking about the Labour representing center-left politics in the UK, the Conservatives representing center-right politics in the UK, and Reform that represents the far right. Yesterday, some elections took place in England, Scotland, and Wales. And boy, oh boy, were the results devastating for a Labour Party that actively destroyed itself because they were terrified of Jeremy Corbyn, where Labour has lost more than 1,000 council seats, with Reform picking up 1,222 council seats. And the Greens have had a pretty tremendous victory in the process as well. And so have the Liberal Democrats too, weirdly enough. But the Greens have been doing a phenomenal job. We released the BBC projected national share based off of the council results. Reform at 26%, Green at 18%, Labor at 17%, Conservatives at 17%, with Lib Dems at 16%. A clear but far from overwhelming victory for reform, with everyone else clustered in a big lump behind them. Ultimate fragmentation. De-Yankification now says changes is 2025, reform -4, Greens +7, Labor -3, Conservative +2, Lib Dems -1. Old people will destroy this country. God, I fucking hate the elderly. Dude, the Reform Party is literally all show too. Like, if you were to go to the average Reform voter, because like England has class politics in its roots. Like, it's not like America where people are oblivious to class. If you were to ask the average Reform voter to spell out like some top line issues beyond immigration, beyond, you know, fucking up the boats, lad, right? They would just look at you and be like, that's not true. There's no way the Reform Party wants to do that. Okay? Like, there are so many people who were lifelong, reliable Labor voters at a time when they thought that the Labor Party, and not thought, but like the Labor Party did represent the interests of the working class, that now vote for the Reform Party because racism is the only game in town. It's insane. Yes, I saw this. This is what I was referencing here. Hilarious video that shows none of the Reform voters know any of Reform's policies. Before I get to this, though, let's do a top-line approach here, a little bit of analysis, and then we'll get to all of that.
At 6, Labour has suffered huge losses after millions of people went to the polls in England, Wales and Scotland. The Labour Party is set for an historic defeat in Wales, losing control of the Senedd for the first time since devolution almost 30 years ago, with Plaid Cymru forecast to win the most seats. In Scotland, the SNP will remain the largest party, but their vote share is down in almost every constituency. It is Reform UK that has made some of the biggest gains across Britain so far. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has described Labour's results as tough, but says he's not going to walk away from the job. Let me just show you what has been happening in Wales, England and Scotland. This is...
Keir Starmer literally is just like, nope, I'm tanking this further. How far can we go? How far can we take this? First of all, Keir, buddy, you might not walk away from the job, but the job is going to walk away from you. That's number one. I don't even know how he stays in power at this point. I have no idea how he stays in power at this point. He has to get fired, right? There's no shot. I mean, one of his most famous speeches is when he literally says to his own party, if you don't like it, you can fucking leave. And it turns out a lot of people that were lifelong Labor Party members were like, okay, sure, I am leaving. Some of them left for Reform. Many of them also left for the Green Party. I don't think he makes it out by the end of this year, but what do I know?
Wales, what has been a Labour stronghold for more than a century. Labour now pushed into third place with Plaid Cymru out front. In England, it is Reform that has been surging. These are the latest tally there. Look, Reform now more than 1,000 seats. They started with just 2. Labour has lost.
Nigel Farage is a disgusting monster through and through. By the way, I have to talk about the media's role in all of this as well. The media abso-fucking-lutely played a major role here too. Hey, just wanted to say that you gay. Yeah, I fucked your dad, chatter. Yeah. Yeah, me and your dad, butt sex. He loved it. He said, first time he's ever had a man dig deep inside of him like that. Life-changing experience for your dad. Yep. Crack like an egg. Yep. Then your mom walked in. And she was like, my turn, please. My grandma's watching. What? Love is love, man. It's 2026. Should have brought this heat last night. We'll go hard in SF. Anyway, if you're wondering how we got here, the media definitely played a big role in this too. Is the labor's suicide? It's a corporate interest that is the corporate interest and the power of the Israeli lobby that certainly exists in the UK as well. Destroying labor from within, playing a formative role with the same exact Oxbridge commentators that were defending their class interests and the class interests of their friends who are in positions of power, representing the capitalist class's interests through and through to ensure that labor destroyed itself, self-destructed in an effort to make sure that, Jeremy Corbyn never actually saw any power whatsoever in the country. And then actively undermining, not just like correctly covering the labor's failures, but also actively undermining this insurgency that took place within the Greens. Because if you were to watch British media leading up to this goddamn election, you would think that Adolf Hitler reincarnated as a Jewish man in the form of Zach Polanski. Okay. Meanwhile, the Reform Party and its door knockers were running around in every fucking district and every council being like, yes, would you like to kill every migrant? Would you like to kill every migrant? Also, the Holocaust is questionable if it happened or not. We don't know. Like literally, I think a Reform guy who is a active Holocaust denier won a seat yesterday. But you never heard about shit like that from the fucking British media because they were too busy yelling at the one Jewish guy heading a major party and his opinion on Palestine, which is the majority opinion, by the way. They were so hyper-focused on bashing the Greens that the British public has been actively uninformed about what the fuck's going on in their own politics, where they're like, all right, well, I don't like them. I don't like them, the migrants. They're taking up the toll. They're taking up space in the tube. I don't quite like them. They're the reason why I don't get NHS aid. Right. Meanwhile, half of the fucking NHS is migrants. Yeah. Let's take them all out of the country, lad. Fucking hell. England for English. Meanwhile, the Labour Party's like, yes, we cannot be a nation of strangers. That's what fucking Keir Starmer said. So what do you expect? If you don't cover the Reform's race baiting over and over again, it's racial agitations, it's anti-immigrant sentiment, and you actively pursue the Greens as though they're like a terrifying prospect for a British future because they, want to undermine the interests of the capital owning class a little bit in an effort to center the British working class in their policies, in their agenda. If you find that to be the true threat, then yeah, people are going to be uninformed and they're going to go and, vote for the Reform Party.
845 seats. And onto Scotland.
It's just so funny because like half of the wave of additional migrants that came in the aftermath of Brexit, which is the exact same force channeled by this fucking dipshit. And the same people who are like, I don't like Brexit no longer. I thought we were going to be an independent sovereign nation. Why did we fucking do this? Are now turning around and doing the same exact thing again.
Where it is the SNP who are still out front, though their majority has, for the number of seats so far, we are not sure quite where that is going to end up, but that is not what it was before. Our first report tonight is from our political editor, Chris Mason.
Ellie Ned Morgan was Wales's First Minister this morning. Tonight, she doesn't even have...
Islam is not a race, you moron. So how are they racist? Yeah. Tell that to the first victim of an Islamophobic hate crime that was killed in the aftermath of 9/11, who didn't happen to be Muslim at all. He was actually Sikh. So why did they kill him? Well, because the guy thought when he shot and killed this Sikh man, as a matter of fact, he said this one's for 9/11. Why did he do that? Because Islamophobia is racialized. Okay. It's a racialized form of bigotry. It's also the reason why most people don't fucking yell at me or call me an Islamic jihadist before they find out what my name is, because I'm white. Also, what are the things that I don't understand about this kind of sentiment is like, what? Do you even care about racism either? Like, why? He's like, wait a minute. Islamophobia is totally normal. Don't you dare call me fucking racist, even though I hate them too. Like, you're both probably, right? The likelihood that someone who's Islamophobic is also going to be racist is unbelievably high. So who gives a shit? From your perspective, you should worry about defending racism too, you know, because they're violent, right? They're fucking violent. We should send them back too.
A seat in the Senedd, the Welsh Parliament.
Is Labour over in Wales?
Labour have won every Welsh election since before Sir David Attenborough was even born. But not this one.
Welsh Labour has today suffered a catastrophic result. It ends a century of Labour winning in Wales, and the party will need to take a really hard look at itself.
Everything you've been saying about UK politics summed up.
Would you vote reformed? I'm not mental or racist, so no. Is immigration a problem in the UK? No. Why'd you say no? Because it's fundamental to our existence. Oh, why'd you say that? Because we need it. We don't have enough people being born in this country. We need immigrants. It's simple. Why does the UK fear immigration? We're told to. By who? The elites that own us. So the capitalists and the billionaires that are in charge that really own us and own our parties, mostly the Tories, but now Labour as well, they tell us to fear it because they need someone to blame for our problems when really they're the ones causing our problems. Do you think we have overpopulations in major cities? No, not at all. We've got loads of room. You think so, really? Because everyone says that the UK is such a small thing, the country is individual small islands. Bringing more people here, we don't have the space for it. Like, do you have any thoughts on that? I think that's a lie. We have.
Have you been outside of the major city centers, man? I have. Let me tell you, lots of space. Okay. The idea that like the UK as an island is just like the population density is far too high is one of the funniest things. There's plenty of empty space that you can build on. Okay. I'm not even talking about like the evisceration of farmland or anything, because that's important for agriculture and the ecology. I'm just straight up saying like there is plenty of room to still fucking build. Plenty of room to build. If you had some semblance of central planning in mind, you could literally just build a new city center, you know, Chinese style. Yeah, but no one wants to live there outside of the big cities in the UK is basically Bulgaria. Oh, you're not wrong, for sure. You're not wrong. Muslims can be any race, but Islam is racialized in the West. Oh, this guy's awesome. Yeah, I love this guy. This guy is genuinely my favorite politician. Topo Resnivoro. You might think he's Japanese, by the way, from his outfit. He's actually Indonesian. He's an Indonesian anti-Muslim Islamophobic racist who LARPs as a Japanese guy. He's not Japanese. And for Reform Party, goated character. It's awesome. Secret Indonesian guy who is like, you know, anti people exactly like him coming to the country, or at least the party that he's involved in is that. Okay. And he's LARPing as a Japanese guy instead. Is he playable? Yes, he's a playable character. There's a reform candidate named Mohammed Sharia. Stop. There's no way. Keir Starmer is the equivalent of Obama and Farage, Trump, Hassan. What? What the fuck? The Greens do not have a chance in this general, and everyone knows it. Unfortunately, Labour MPs should have been brave and booted Keir. There's a reform candidate named Mohammed Sharia. What the fuck? I didn't know that one. This is the reform guy who won after denying the Holocaust. Yeah, reform UK candidate. What the fuck? I thought that was my brother. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I literally thought that was Murat. I thought that was a photo of Murat. What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm not even kidding when I say this. It scared me. Okay. No, Murat is nowhere near that fat. No. This is old Murat. That's what I'm saying. He used to look exactly like this, bro. Come on. Plot twist. This is old Murat. The Mohammed Sharia guy is fake. Oh, man. Okay, I didn't know about this because it doesn't exist. Dude, look at this guy. Yeah, Reform UK candidate who said Holocaust was a hoax, wins seat in local elections. I know, but when I clicked on the link, I got scared at first because I thought it was like one of our holiday pictures from our youth or something that they posted on the article. I was like, what the fuck? It could be Nezo, it could be you, it could be me, honestly. Yeah, this is Murat's chud, bizarro Murat. Believes the opposite of what Murat believes. For the people who don't know how absurd this is, Topo's official election picture is a screenshot of him in some cape shit movie. He was also in one of the musicians in the cantina in the original Star Wars. It's Marvel's Doctor Strange. Yeah, anti-Semitism being presented as the left-coded gives the right a free run with candidates like this. 100%. It's fucking devastating, man.
It is Plaid Cymru, who'd one day like an independent Wales, who are on course to be the biggest party, with this man likely to be First Minister.
It has become clear that Wales demanded that change of leadership, and I look forward to saying more about this later as the full picture becomes complete.
Sedd un, seat 1, Dan Thomas, Reform UK Wales. Yay!
Reform have also done well in Wales, easily beating Labour. In Scotland, another win for the Scottish National Party, a 5th consecutive term.
I will simply do all that I possibly can do to make Scotland a successful country and to improve the lives of the people of our country, and I look forward to doing that in the next Scottish parliamentary term. Thank you very much.
Labour losing here as well then, a recurring pattern today. Just look at their body language. Glum, defensive, rejected. Speaking before the flurry of results this afternoon, here is the Prime Minister's take.
These are really tough results. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The voters have sent a message about the pace of change, how they want their lives improved. Labour's elected to meet those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from those challenges and plunge the country into chaos.
Reform UK have made big gains in Basildon, in Essex, Tameside in Greater Manchester, and there was a hug in Hampshire too. And they've won in Suffolk,
Morning, Nigel.
Essex, Newcastle under Lyme, and here, Havering in East London.
Overall, what's happened is a truly historic shift in British politics. We've been so used to thinking about politics in terms of left and right.
Yeah, no, it's a historic shift. England, for the first time ever, is racist. It's never happened before. Historic shift in the direction of racism. Britain Yahoo? Oh my God. Oh, that's amazing. Britain Yahoo. I literally thought we finally saw enough of this pile of dog muck turned sentient after Brexit. Nope. It seems like there is an unbelievable appetite. The thing is, in a lot of seats they won, they would have lost if it was not first past the post. In at least half the seats they won, a majority voted against them.
And yet what Reform are able to do is to win in areas that have always been conservative, but equally, we're proving in a big way, we can win in areas that Labour have dominated, frankly, since the end of World War I.
You literally called this when Labour won the last time? Reform nearly got half as many votes as Labour. Quite worrisome here. Yeah, look at this. Labour's landslide victory kind of muddies the waters given the way that like British politics works. in terms of what their actual performance in totality looks like. Their actual performance in totality is insanely scary in comparison to former labor politics, and former labor numbers. And also, when you look at something like this, when you look at the vote numbers across the board, Reform UK got 4 million. That is like, I don't know what to say. That is so terrifying. That is unimaginably terrifying. That is a red alarm bell. That we're talking like we're nearing re-education camp territory, like immediately. Okay, like the British boomer class is out of control, dude. They are so insanely reactionary. Yeah, Hassan didn't call this. It was widely reported. Come on, chat. No, my call specifically back then was Keir Starmer is going to do tepid neoliberalism. He's going to pivot to the right, and that is going to cause a massive, massive surge in support for reform. And that's precisely what happened. That's precisely what happened. I said it verbatim. I said Keir Starmer, this is from 2024, the first day of the Labour victory, where I said Starmer got less votes than Corbyn. Keir Starmer is obviously very, very right-wing. And this right-wing pivot for Labour is going to cause reform to win. This is what's important to analyze. Like, it's a thumping majority without a thumping share in the vote. What could possibly go wrong? Where is the part where I just say, like, is this? Hassan the Hun is right. We need him in British politics that can say the things. Zach Polanski is too much of a gentleman to say. Farage gets to do this, but Zach needs to sit there and politely ask that his Jewishness not be erased while being accused of Jew hatred.
Questions of funding for local councils. You've had some difficult questions about your own funding.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that any other time if you like.
Yeah. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. There is absolutely a class issue here. Like, class is so class is obviously fundamentally important in my politics across the board, right? I believe in the Marxist tradition. I'm a socialist. But class is demystified in places like the United States of America by design. It's very successfully demystified. We have the concept of middle class voters, upper middle class, that sort of thing. Whereas in the UK, class politics is very in your face. And class interests are primary. Oh, wait, did I say demystified? I meant mystified. Class interests are mystified in American politics, whereas in the UK, it's right in your face. I mean, they have a fucking Council of Lords, right? They still have lords in the UK. And there's also a lot of respect for members of the upper crust of society. It sucks, but it's the case. And part of the issue with British politics is that everyone in the fucking media and everyone that's a politician for the most part are directly coming from the same two fucking schools, Oxford and Cambridge. Okay? They come from Oxford and they come from Cambridge. They all hang out. They all know each other. They're all homies with one another. They're cut from the same fucking cloth. And even those who are not from that same caste system will still, in an effort to advance through these institutions, advance the interests of the same class system. Okay? And that's precisely what it is. Okay? Eaton too? Sure. Yeah, and class politics is so segmented, is so fragmented in the country that you can tell where someone went to school from the way that they speak. Right? Even Boris Johnson, we look at him as a goofy from the United States of America, but like Boris Johnson has that classic party trick that he always pulls out, right? Where he ends up doing Homer's Odyssey in the original Latin, right? He learned about this. He learned about this in school. He got the proper schooling. So all of that is a direct manifestation. Eton is a college, not a university, and college is high school for those of you in the United States. A college is where you go to for what we here in the United States would call a high school, right? Oxbridge is a reference to the university that people go to after they get their college education in Eton. Right. Isn't that how it is? It's between high school and uni. Sorry, high school and uni. College is 16 to 18 in the UK. College and university are interchangeable? No, but I feel like colleges are... Like in Turkey, we have colleges too. Like we call high school college in Turkey. So I assume it's like the same in it's secondary school. Okay, not in the UK. College is sixth form education in the UK. I thought in the US, a university is a collection of colleges. College is different in the UK is different from uni. That's what I meant. I thought college was like what you go to before you go to university. You go to high school or you go to a college and then you go to university. No? Is that not how it is? Secondary school, then college for 16, 18 courses, then university for degrees. Colleges are usually polytechnic education. You go there after high school and before uni mostly. Isn't that sixth form? It goes primary school. It goes, okay, hold on. I'm going to do the accent for this. It goes primary school until 11, secondary school until 16, sixth form college, 17 to 18, and then university after that. Ah, yes. Yes. Very nice. Thank you. Spot on, sir. You're a good chap. Sixth form is the same as college, but when it's part of a secondary school. Eton College is just the name of the secondary school, aged 13 to 18. But yeah, the 16 to 18 is a further education college. But some people do sixth form for the same years. Very nice. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is they all go to the same fucking schools. They're homies with one another, and they represent the same class interest, even if they're not directly a part of that same class. And you see this manifest in the media a lot, okay? It's not an accident that the guy who was lasering Zach Polanski, who very clearly represents the interests of the working class rather than the pedophilic capital-owning class, was cooked by a guy who was the best man of former Lord Mendelsohn, right? Who has, in the media, openly said that a lot of people are fake friends to Mendelsohn after the Epstein stuff. I'm still riding for him. And his job is not under threat at all. As a matter of fact, his job security comes from his diehard loyalty to those who are either servants of the elites or a part of the elites themselves. That's it. It's horrible. It's totally fucked up. But this guy nails it.
The Greenbelt is mostly empty space, and we've killed all the animals in it. We might as well build on it. We need houses. It's the fundamental thing that kills our country and kills our young people. We need to build houses. We need to make them so that people can buy them and own them and stop them being owned by landlords.
So I saw another stat on ITV that in the last 10 years, there's 6.2 million people on the waiting list for NHS and 2 million children in poverty in the UK. That allegedly, that is due to immigration. Would you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's not due to immigration. Immigration is the reason our NHS works. The thing that causes that is governments deliberately underfunding and sort of underutilising the NHS for what it could really be. It's nothing to do with immigrants coming in. It's to do with it being badly managed and badly funded.
Was Brexit a good or bad idea?
Terrible idea.
Why?
Fundamentally ruined every aspect of our country, and by every measurable factor, it's weakened us. We can't... The problem is, as well, with immigrants, the people that don't like immigrants, that want to get rid of immigrants, that would even be easier if we were in the EU. It's weakened everything. We can't do anything because we're not in the EU. We're not the big, powerful Britannia that we once used to be, where we were going around the world and slaughtering people. We're a little island that's off the coast of the Atlantic. We need to be in the EU to have any kind of power or any kind of say-so. We need to have fair and legal routes for people to be able to access this country, and if you want to stop the small boats, that's how you start doing it. And eventually, by becoming a member of the EU, that would help us do that as well.
And I'll ask you more questions.
I mean, he cooks. No notes. He's absolutely right. So funny. This fucking dipshit posted himself taking this L. Oh, yeah, the guy who was interviewing him. Yeah. It's like, well, don't you think it's the immigrants? He's like, no. He sounds like you because he's just saying the truth. That's it. Yeah, if you say the truth like I do, then, you know, you're going to sound the same. Unfortunately, however, especially in mainstream outlets, you never hear this honest and refreshing perspective on exactly what the problems are. Everybody feels the pain, but right-wing forces at the behest of capital redirect that anger to migrants because they recognize that if these people became more conscious of their class position and voted for politicians that represent their interests better, then profit margins would go down. That'd be unbearable.
There were lots of cheering, even jumping Greens this evening too.
Zoe Garbett is duly elected as the Mayor of Hackney.
And a big win for them in East London.
This is a historic victory. This is the first time the Green Party have ever won a directly elected mayor. And two-party politics is not just dying, it is dead and it is buried. And actually, whether it's here that Labour have been rejected or whether we're seeing around the country, it's very clear that the new politics is the Green Party versus Reform.
The Conservatives, so often leading actors in the story of British politics, feel like little more than an extra today. They've gone backwards, but...
Good morning, Westminster. How are we feeling?
They did regain Westminster Council.
I'm very proud of how we have done. I'm not saying that we're there yet. I'm not saying that the results are perfect. There are loads of councillors, Conservative councillors, who would have lost their seats, but they can see that our strategy is working. Good strategy takes time. It doesn't all happen overnight.
For the Liberal Democrats, modest gains and unorthodox dance moves. They lost control in Hull, gained control in Stockport, and won in Portsmouth.
It's a fantastic result here in...
Liberal Democrats are so funny. I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck is a... Like, what do they represent even? Like, who's like, oh, well, in the age of feckless labor moving to the moderate center, we, the Liberal Democrats, we are going to be... We've been there, you know? We've been the moderates. The things are actually fine party.
Portsmouth, the Reform threw everything at it, but we won. We've taken control of this council, and we've shown across the country that it's the Liberal Democrats who can hold off and beat Reform.
What then of the Prime Minister's future? There hasn't, as yet at least, been an eruption of Labour folk demanding he goes. This Labour MP used to be in Keir Starmer's cabinet. This afternoon she said he should stay. For now.
The Prime Minister is doing an absolutely exceptional job on the international...
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It's just so bad. It's just, how do you even reduce yourself to this undignified status, man?
...national stage, and it's incredibly important that he's successful in that role because our constituents' livelihoods depend upon it. But the message has been clear from the public that unless the government delivers significant and urgent change, it's clear that the Prime Minister cannot lead us into another election.
A smattering of other Labour MPs are saying similar things.
We have lost brilliant Labour representatives, people who put so much into their communities, so much into our party and our movement. And the voters...
Why wasn't Restore an option? Like the Rupert Lowe's party? That's what you're talking about, right? I don't know. Maybe because Reform is like, we're fucking Nazi enough. And people were like, no, it's good enough. We're good enough with like, moderate Adolf Hitler. We don't want to go full Hitler, even though they did win 10 seats, apparently. So there's still some people who were like, no, moderate Nazism is not good enough for me. I want maximalist Nazism.
have sent a message about the pace of change, how they want their lives improved. May was elected to meet those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from those challenges and plunge the country into chaos.
They want to change you.
Well, they've sent a message that the change that we promised isn't being delivered in a way they can feel, and also, frankly, they're fed up with years of the status quo. But we were elected.
You, man. They see you as a representative of the status quo. There's no way that you could. First of all, Keir Starmer is already a charisma vacuum anyway, so there's very little shot that he would be able to out-talk his way out of this. But it's very funny that he's also in an impossible position. This was an unbelievable defeat for Labour. Like, it was a spectacular defeat for Labour. There's no way that you can talk your way out of this. Even if you were an incredibly charismatic figure, which you are not.
To deal with those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from that and to plunge the country into chaos.
Did you contemplate that the problem might be you, that you might need to go to help Labour win these seats back? Did you even contemplate it? Did you acknowledge it as a conversation even?
Look, I think it's absolutely clear that the electorate are fed up with the fact that their lives aren't changing quickly enough. And this has been going on for a very, very long time. I think that we were right to emphasise to the country the difficult inheritance we've had, the challenges we face, but we haven't done enough to convince people that things can improve, their lives can get better, the hope. And I'm not going to walk away from that challenge. We made a number of calls which were the right calls in terms of stabilising the economy, investing in our public services, and not getting dragged into the Iran war. But we also made unnecessary mistakes. And my job now is to set out the steps that we will take to bring about the change that people want and deserve.
PM, to be clear, you are not going to resign.
No, I'm not going to walk away and plunge the country into chaos. We were elected to deal with these challenges, and that's what we will do.
Has Ed Miliband asked you to set out a timetable for your departure?
Well, I think Ed Miliband has dealt with this and made absolutely clear that he supports me.
What do you say to those in your party that are really upset with you?
Starmer presided over a historic loss, and he still gets more preferential media treatment than Zach Polanski has gotten. I mean, I wouldn't say he's getting preferential treatment, but at least they're not telling him to kill himself. It's impossible for any media outlet to give him positive coverage right now. I wouldn't like the situation. The situation is untenable. It's a resounding defeat. Everyone knows what's going on. He's basically Liz Truss. Last night, we were told the Greens were underperforming. Wrong. The BBC gives the Greens a projected share of 18%, narrowly making them second place. That means they are outperforming the average polling, and that's despite younger voters being less likely to vote in locals. Yeah.
They don't think you're getting it, and they're...
The real problem is, I think Labour is so unbelievably anti-green that they would rather not do any sort of coalition with the Greens, even if the Greens were to win like a significant chunk of the vote. And I don't even know what that looks like, because right now, given the share of votes for Labour and the Greens, like there is definitely an opportunity for a coalition, like an anti-reform coalition, because a reform is going to get like a quarter plus. I could see Labour trying to like align themselves with the Conservatives or something. Maybe not reform, but Labour, reform, Conservative coalition will 100% be a thing. Are mistaken. Labour historically has partnered with Lib Dems and Greens in local elections. No, I know, but Polanski literally has been accused of fomenting anti-Semitism, implying he's not just a problem for his party, but for the country in general. That's way beyond what is being pushed against Starmer. Yeah, I wouldn't say that we are looking at the same Labour Party that existed.
Calling for your resignation. What do you say to would-be challengers and the party?
And we're not even looking at the same Green Party that existed either.
I think it's very important that we don't sugarcoat these results, so I'm not going to do that. They are tough results.
Dog, there is no sugar that you can put on not just like a piece of dog shit, but a piece of dog shit that's been covered in nuclear waste. Okay? You can put as much sugar on it as possible. It still smells, looks exactly, and radiates exactly like a piece of dog shit covered in nuclear dust. Okay? It's over. Big dog, it's over.
Accept that. They reflect voters who don't feel that their lives have changed enough or quickly enough and that's been going on for a long time. We were elected to deal with that, and I'm not going to walk away from that responsibility and plunge the country into chaos.
I've got a final question. One of your own top team messaged me this morning and said that you are the reason that Labour risks handing the country to reform, that you are the problem. What do you say to that? That if you stay on, you will hand the country to reform?
What I'd say to that is, we won a landslide victory in July 2024. I led our party to that victory. That is a 5-year mandate to change the country. Yes, there are difficult conditions. The inheritance was terrible. The international context is very, very difficult. But we need to inject that hope and convince people that things can.
Brother, how are you going to inject hope into anything? It's socialism or barbarism. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs.
And will get better. And that's why in coming days, I'll set out the further steps that we will take.
Final part, how are you feeling? Are you feeling upset today?
I am feeling very much for the brilliant candidates, the brilliant councillors, the brilliant representatives that we have lost, because I know for them they have put so much into their communities, so much of their life into public service.
Tommy Vitor says, I understand why Starmer doesn't want to go. None of them ever do, but I think this is a crazy decision for Labour. The voters have spoken. They want new leadership. If you don't listen, you will squander the time you have left to right the ship. Maybe a lesson from maybe a lesson here for the Democratic Party in the United States of America. Stop pivoting to the right. You only more radical forms of fascism into tech logs now, brother, please. When are you going to talk about Akash Singh leaving the Flagrant podcast? What the fuck? What are you talking? What is that? I don't have any opinions on this. I did not know that this is a thing that happened. This is still more important news than British people's politics. I disagree. I think it's a very important thing that took place in Britain yesterday, that fascism is growing.
So I'm thinking about them and thinking about what we need to do.
Akash's wife basically bragged about him being a cuck, and now his career is ruined. Yes, I'm embarrassed. I listened to Flagrant. Wait, what? Is he actually a cuck? Like, I don't get it. Okay, now I'm actually invested. What the fuck? What happened? Akash's kinda. Like, what was it? Was she cheating on him? Isn't Akash's wife a stud too? Like, she's dope. That's the only thing I remember is like Akash's wife basically shitting on the politics of the podcast. And no, she just big dogs him. No, dude, she made him look like a cuck. She has embarrassed him on multiple occasions about their sex life. More than just that, she was shitting on him too. I think it was just jokes, and Akash didn't discipline her like the Flagrant audience wanted, and Flagrant audience got on his ass. She was sleeping around before they met, bragged about getting her pussy popped, and said she wanted to leave him at his lowest. So basically, she was bragging about how she was sleeping around a ton in uni and making fun of him. Okay. She talked about how she slept around in college and now people are calling him a cuck. Wait, I don't get it. Do people think that like most people get married as virgins or something? Like what's the problem? Okay, she slept around in college. Akash always presented her as a pure maiden or some bullshit like that. Incels that are mad. This is dumb guy logic Hassan, so now he's a cuck. Yes, it doesn't make sense. Podcast cringe.
We got to address
Akash Singh's wife just ended his career.
the elephant in the room, no pun intended. Okay? As I'm sure you guys are aware, our boy Akash, he really...
The brutal humiliation of a mid-tier comedian, Patrick CC from 4 months ago,
This
with
stand-up comedian is
motherfucking
being
1.3 million views. What the fuck?
humiliated in front of the entire world and does not know how to make it stop. Akash Singh is mostly known as being the sidekick to Andrew Schultz on the Flagrant podcast. His wife Jasleen recently started creating content that many
stud, by the way,
feel is shocking or distasteful coming from a married woman.
Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. So for context, I went to college from 2011 to 2016. I was popping my and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate.
This is not.
Ooh, I mean, like, I think it's normal for someone to have a healthy sex life before and after marriage. That's it's a little disrespectful when you're a married person. I feel like, am I crazy to say that? I feel like it's because you're literally saying that your past life, when you were, her words not mine, popping your pussy for white boys in frat houses was far better than your current predicament when you're popping your pussy for your husband. Are you a real train guy? Did you celebrate the D-line extension, or are you a phony? Like, it's not the experiences that she had. It's how she's reflecting on them that I think makes it a little bit different. Okay? Does that make sense? Because, like, look, I'm a fairly confident guy in the tools that I'm working with. Okay? You all know that. One thing I will say is this, the way that she's delivering this information, perhaps in an embellished manner, exclusively for shock and awe, because she's trying to make content out of it, will definitely lead some people to, like even the fact that she has those thoughts is normal. I don't think that's abnormal. I mean, when you're young and you have no obligations, no responsibilities, don't have kids to take care of, like that's a fun time, and it's normal for people, adults who are married, to look back at that time fondly and be like, man, I used to be crazy, right? That all of that stuff is fine. All that stuff is normal. It's just when you say it out loud in this way, in a format like this, of course people are gonna hear exactly what you're saying and make up their minds about the shortcomings of the other person.
Not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
And if you think those clips are bad, trust me, it gets so much worse. Like when she expressed how badly she wanted to sleep with her co-host's husband.
Would y'all ever have an orgy together with your husband? Priya, I'm actively trying to have an orgy because this couple is so good looking, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you fucking see him. Maybe. I just know that Nav's dick is like at least 10 inches. You would only be down for an orgy if it's thick. It's thick.
Jasleen regularly
Oh my God, that's okay, oh brother. Am I being baited? This is like this. Okay, chat. The way that chatter framed the story led me to believe that this was like incel. This was like a very incel perspective. Okay. That's pretty crazy. It's like the equivalent of Akash running around and being like, damn, I really want to fuck the shit out of that woman or this woman. You know what I mean? And that would be very disrespectful to her. Right? This is, I mean, it kind of is it is a little disrespectful, like beyond the gender dynamic at play. Obviously, it's a patriarchal society. People will run with even like totally modest statements to make it seem like it's a big deal. this definitely is a lot worse. She refused to kiss him on the mouth too. Someone tell him. What? She refused to. What are you? What?
Romanticizes sleeping with other men, films her arguments with Akash to post on TikTok, brags about being a gold digger, and actively refuses to kiss her husband in public, not even during his proposal. This is the type of relationship that 99% of you watching pray you will never find yourself in. But anyone who criticizes Jasleen and the potential harmful influence she may have on couples, she calls them incel red pillars. Then again, it's somewhat understandable considering sometimes the right message can come from the wrong messenger, because Akash was actually warned by the Fresh and Fit podcast that he was going to find himself in this exact type of situation. In the early 2020s, there was a digital uprising of self-proclaimed alpha males who claimed their traditional views of masculinity were directly conflicting with mainstream liberal ideologies. Guys like Myron Gaines and Walter Weeks of the Fresh and Fit podcast got viral attention talking about traditional gender roles, relationship dynamics, and what being a real man is. And even though Akash and Andrew host a comedy podcast, they often dabble in more serious, broader social commentary, which led to them inviting on the Fresh and Fit guys to discuss some of their views on masculinity.
Cock's not doing well right now, bro. They being attacked from all sides. Don't they like it though? I don't know how the cuck stuff works. Isn't that like a kink where you're like kind of busting fat nuts when everybody's humiliating you? If humiliation is a part of the whole. Aren't we technically participating in the kink when we actually shame a cuck? Like, inadvertently? I don't know how any of this shit works.
And relationships.
Yeah, the cuck has all the power, technically.
Damn, this guy's good.